Nepal's Election Commission completes printing of ballot papers for 142 constituencies. Only a fraction of candidates found to follow rules on campaign finances. Nepal elections spark economic surge. Election spending to boost mark activity beyond 120 billion rupees. Saints gather from Nepal and abroad as preparation for Mahashivaratri festival completes at Pashupatinath temple. World leaders gather in Munich for second day of security conference. UK PM Starmer says Europe must stand on own 2 feet. Trump ramps up to pressure. And Nepal gears up for its third T20 World Cup 2026 match to be held tomorrow. Good evening, I'm Suveksha Rajak and this is NTV World Primetime News coming up to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours Nepal time. Across the globe, it's 1:15 p.m. in London, 10:15 p.m. in Tokyo and just after midnight in Sydney. Now the news in details. As Nepal gears up for March 5 elections, the Election Commission of Nepal has made significant progress in printing ballot papers across the country. So far, ballots have been printed for 142 electoral constituencies spanning 66 districts with a total of 18.23 million ballots already completed. Printing is taking place at the Janak Education Materials Centre in Bhaktapur, Sanothimi, with around 1.5 million ballots produced daily. The ballot paper covers both first-past-the-post and proportional representation systems, reflecting Nepal's complex electoral framework. While 20.83 billion ballots for proportional representation have already been printed, the first-past-the-post system still requires the printing of 20.32 million ballots. The next phase involves printing ballots for 23 constituencies in 11 districts around Kathmandu Valley, with completion expected within the next few days. The Election Commission also had mandated that political parties and candidates must open separate bank accounts for election expenses and submit the details to the Commission in order to make election spending transparent. Out of 3,406 candidates, including political parties and independents, only 454 candidates and 4 political parties have informed the Commission about opening separate bank accounts as of Friday. This shows while candidates have pledged to voters to eliminate corruption, promote transparency and implement reforms, many of those same candidates are found to be hesitant to follow those principles themselves. More than half of the polling stations in Madhya province has been classified as highly sensitive ahead of the upcoming House of Representatives election. 44% of the polling stations are located along the border with neighboring India, which authorities consider a significant factor in their security assessment. Security arrangements have been intensified in these areas for ensure a free, fair and peaceful election process. Our colleague Aprila Kisinglam brings more.
Among the 8 districts of Madhya province, Saptari has the highest number of polling stations classified as highly sensitive. Out of 296 polling stations in Saptari, 209 have been placed on the highly sensitive list. According to Madhya province police, 154 polling stations in Siraha, 194 in Dhanusa, 163 in Mohotari, 158 in Sarlahi, 152 in Rautahad and 145 in Bara have also been categorized as highly sensitive. Authorities say enhanced security measures will be implemented in these areas to ensure a safe and orderly election process.
2160 मतदान स्थलमा 4471 वटा चाहिँ मतदान केन्द्रहरू छ, पोलिङ सेन्टरहरू छ। यसलाई सुरक्षाको दृष्टिकोणले जिल्लाले जिल्ला सुरक्षा समितिबाट सिफारिस गरे अनुसार यसलाई संवेदनशील र असंवेदनशील गरेर डिभाइड गर्ने सन्दर्भमा क्रममा 1246 वटा मतदान केन्द्रलाई चाहिँ अति संवेदनशीलको उसमा क्याटेगोरीमा राखिएको रहेछ। यसको मतलब यो विभिन्न खालको त्यहाँ हुन सक्ने खालको आकस्मिक घटनाहरू, सुरक्षाको हिसाबले गर्दा चुनौतीहरू, सीमानाकासँगको दूरी आदि इत्यादि र हिजो योभन्दा अगाडिका घटनाहरूको कुराले गर्दाखेरि यो विश्लेषण गरेर चाहिँ राखिएको अवस्था हो।
Security agencies have categorized polling stations into three levels: normal, sensitive, and highly sensitive, after assessing security challenges arising from the open border between Nepal and India, as well as concerns following the recent Gen Z movement. Meanwhile, authorities are preparing to deploy more than 50,000 security personnel to ensure that the elections are conducted in a peaceful and fear-free environment. Madhya province, which shares a 367-kilometer open border with India, has a total of 4,471 polling centers and 2,156 polling stations across its 8 districts.
मुलुक भारतसँग पनि सिमाना जोडिएका केही चाहिँ पालिकाहरू छन्। त्यसकारणले यो धेरै हिसाबले हेर्दा यो सुरक्षाको दृष्टिकोणले हेर्दा संवेदनशील नै देखिन्छ यो जिल्ला र यसमा सबै सुरक्षा निकायका प्रमुखहरू यसमा चाहिँ सदस्य रहने व्यवस्था हुन्छ। सामान्यतया उहाँले व्यापक तयारी गरेको अवस्था मैले बुझेको छु र उहाँले गर्ने कुराहरू सबै मतदान केन्द्रहरूको चाहिँ निरीक्षण गर्ने कुराहरू होइन, स्थलहरूको निरीक्षण गर्ने कामहरू, त्यस कारणले उहाँहरू सबै मतदान केन्द्रहरूको निरीक्षण गरिरहनु भएको छ। त्यसका सुरक्षाका हिसाबले गर्नुपर्ने तयारी उहाँले गरिरहनु भएको मैले बुझेको।
In Dhanusa district, which also serves as the capital of Madhya province, 194 polling stations have been classified as highly sensitive. Across the province's 8 districts, there are 32 constituencies for the House of Representatives with more than 3.517 million registered voters. Security agencies determine the sensitivity level of polling stations after analyzing incidents from previous elections, including disruptions to voting, clashes between groups, and cases of ballot box theft. Authorities say the classification aims to strengthen security planning and ensure a safe and orderly electoral process.
Elections are not only viewed as a political celebration but also as a major driver of economic activity, with economists estimating that this year's polls could generate more than 120 billion rupees, equivalent to $9.24 billion in market transactions. Increased campaign spending, rallies, transportation use and advertising are boosting income for printing presses, media houses and transport businesses. This rise in election-related spending is increasing cash flow and consumer demand, creating short-term economic expansion. Experts say the impact is visible in 3 phases. This includes phases before candidate registration, during the election process, and after the results. With banks holding large deposits and rural income relatively slow, election spending is expected to inject additional liquidity into the market. However, economists warn that without a matching rise in production and development, higher money circulation could fuel inflation. They also know that heavy government spending on election security and logistics may add pressure on public debt and the budget deficit, while foreign investors may adopt a cautious wait-and-see approach. Nepal's Rashtriya Prajatantra Party, RPP, has unveiled its election manifesto, placing the monarchy reform of the electoral system and a 2-tier governance structure at the center of its political agenda. Releasing its manifesto for the House of Representatives election scheduled for March 5, the RPP has reiterated its commitment to reinstating Nepal as a Hindu state, restoring the monarchy as a guardian institution, and scrapping the provincial structure. The party has proposed abolishing the provinces and adopting a 2-tier governance model consisting of a strong central government and empowered local levels. The RPP has identified hydropower and water resources, tourism, agriculture, information technology, good governance, the skills and capital of Nepalis living abroad, and the private sector as key pillars of economic prosperity. Time to go for a short break. Do stay tuned with us. Welcome back. You are watching NTV World Primetime News. Preparations have completed at Kathmandu's Pashupatinath temple, with thousands of saints and devotees gathering from across Nepal and around the world. This year, Mahashivaratri falls tomorrow. The Pashupati Area Development Trust, PADT, has confirmed that arrangements for the festival are fully in place. The PADT estimates that approximately 4,000 sadhus and at least 800,000 devotees are expected to visit Pashupatinath temple for worship during the festival. Mahashivaratri at Pashupatinath is not just a major religious event in Nepal. It attracts spiritual seekers from across Asia and beyond, highlighting the international cultural and spiritual significance of Hindu festivals. The massive gathering also underscores the logistical and ceremonial efforts required to accommodate tens of thousands of pilgrims while preserving centuries-old religious traditions. Commercial farming of Himalayan mastiff, traditionally raised in Himalayan regions, has begun in Nepal's high hilly district of Ilam. A dedicated dog breeding farm has been set up in Kalpokhuri of Sandakpur rural municipality of Ilam, where more than a dozen Bhote dogs are being raised alongside Chauri sheds. The large bear-like mountain dogs are valued for their strong build and loud bark, with top specimens receiving offers of up to 800,000 rupees, approximately $5,500. Local farmers have been breeding the dogs for commercial sale, mainly for producing high-value puppies. Demand has been rising across eastern high-hill areas as the breed gains popularity for guarding and breeding purposes. Also known as the Himalayan Mastiff, the Bhote dog is considered rare and native to high Himalayan regions. The breed has received formal international recognition from the International Kennel Club. In far western Nepal, a new skill and employment fair is giving young people practical training, creating opportunity. From electric vehicle repair to cultural handicrafts, youths in Sudar Paschim province are learning in-demand skills that could transform not only their future but also help local economy. Hundreds of youths' hands-on training at the province-wide fair is expected to open doors to self-reliance. Our colleague Rosina Rai with our local correspondent Dinesh Bister brings more.
In far western Nepal, inside the training halls, hundreds of youths are in the mission of becoming empowered through a skill and employment fair. Designed to help youths secure jobs in the area they are interested, participants are actively learning skills that blend tradition with modern touch. From 88 local levels across the 9 districts of Sudur Paschim province, around 600 young people are currently participating in the program. The fair, organized in the province, offering training across 22 subcategories under 6 major sectors. For many participants, this free training has become a turning point. They share that learning practical skills has boosted their confidence and given them hope for a stable future.
टाइम वेस्ट हुनुभन्दा चाहिँ भर्खर परिवारपालिकाले चाहिँ एउटा भनौँ न विद्यार्थीको लागि खाली टाइम सदुपयोग गर्नका लागि चाहिँ एउटा सिप दिएको हुनाले चाहिँ मलाई धेरै धन्यवाद भन्न चाहन्छु.
Many also believe that the certificates they receive upon completing the training will help them secure employment within Nepal. In the art and craft designing section, trainees carefully stitch fabric in fashion designing and advanced tailoring classes. Others work on cultural costume production and bamboo handicrafts, preserving Nepal's heritage while preparing for modern markets. Elsewhere, the sound of tools fills the air as trainees practice preparing electric cars and motorcycles. In the construction training area, aspiring workers learn machinery, furniture making, building construction, and plumbing skills. In hospitality sessions, young men and women confidently prepare coffee as baristas do, cook fast food, and master professionals' service techniques. According to Dhangarhi Sub-Metropolitan City Mayor Gopal Hamal, the fair was launched to address the growing challenge of youth unemployment and the shortage of skilled manpower in the region. As the training programs progress, efforts are underway to connect graduates directly with employers, aiming to reduce unemployment and create lasting impact. Rosina Rai with the local correspondent Dinesh Bista from Kailali reporting for NTV World.
Today marks the Valentine's Day, a day dedicated to love and devotion. In Nepal, the day was marked with a unique intergenerational event in Lalitpur, a historic city in the Kathmandu Valley. While the day is often associated with young couples, senior citizens aged 60 and above took center stage this year, exchanging tokens of love and dancing together in a joyful celebration. The event highlighted the importance of honoring lifelong partnerships and strengthening family bonds in Nepali society. According to Ashish Maharjan, president of the Academy of Culinary Arts Management IT, the program was organized to bring happiness to senior citizens and express gratitude for their lifelong contributions. Organizers say the celebration also aimed to promote intergenerational love and harmony as part of efforts to build a more caring and prosperous society for Nepal's elderly population. If you are holding a bouquet today, you are part of a record-breaking economic surge. Forget pocket change love, it's officially a multi-billion-dollar industry this year. Sarah Saptanamarai breaks down the business behind the bloom.
Love may be priceless, but expressing it is hitting new highs. According to National Retail Federation, total Valentine's spending is projected to reach a record $29.1 billion this year, with the average person shelling out nearly $200 to celebrate. At the heart of the frenzy is the red rose. Global production topped 250 million stems for this single day, a massive logistical feat dominated by the big three: Ecuador, Colombia, and Kenya. These nations supply nearly 80% of the world's Valentine's roses. But that romantic gesture comes with a sticker shock in 2026. Due to rising labor costs and new tariffs, a dozen roses now average about $90, a significant jump from last year. In the US alone, floral arrangements account for over $3 billion of the holiday's budget. Back home in Nepal, the business of love is blooming despite the winter chill, with an estimated demand for about 450,000 rose sticks this week alone. However, since local production struggles in the February cold, the Floriculture Association of Nepal says nearly 70% of these flowers, valued at over 56 million rupees, are imported from India to fill the gap. Consumers are feeling the pinch as prices in Kathmandu Valley have surged to 150 rupees per stem, driven by a 15% global rise in labor and transport costs. Despite the price hike, the data shows the tradition is thorny but essential, with 41% of consumers saying flowers remain their top gift choice for Valentine's Day.
Roses remain the timeless symbol of love, driving a notable increase in demand significantly during Valentine's Day. To know more on surge of flowers like roses in Nepali markets during special occasions, we are being joined in with the President of Floriculture Association of Nepal, Mr. Rajesh Bhakta Shrestha. Mr. Shrestha, welcome to NTV World Primetime News.
Thank you. Thank you.
How important is Valentine's Day for the flower business in Nepal?
Well, it's playing a great role for promotion of flower culture in Nepal, which obviously affecting the floriculture business overall. So we see it as a very important the culture that is developing in Nepal.
What is the rose business like in Nepal during Valentine's Week?
Well, it's currently we as per our study, we think it's about around 500,000 stem of roses sales during this week, worth of around seven crores per week during this whole week. So that is a very important business turnover for this week only. So that is how we see it, and every year it's increasing by at least 10 to 15%.
So is the rose production sufficient in Nepal?
Not quite. At the moment, the production is around, it means the local production meets around 30% of the demand during this Valentine's week. The 70% still we are dependent on the import. So we are trying our best to meet the demand, but we are struggling. Basically, we are struggling to meet it. And because of the season also, so this is not quite a good season for production, because it's a cold season, and the season also affects on the production quantity. So that's really, it's been hard for us to meet the total demand during this week, during Valentine week. Yeah.
So, Mr. Shrestha, what support do Nepali flower farmers need from the government?
Well, the most importantly, we see we need a support from the government on the production of this rose and other floricultural products as well, which we wish the government to implement this floriculture promotion policy, which was introduced in 2069 BS during our old government system. Now, after the federalism has been implemented, it has not been revised and implemented, which has been in our recommendation and which has not been implemented so far. So we request the government to implement it as soon as possible. Apart from that, the issue that we think the government should consider is the financial part. The flower growers needs the support for financial, easily accessible support on the financing and the proper infrastructure that we need for off-season production like this. And also we need a support for the land, which the growers do not have easy access to the land area where the production is accessible to the market, easily accessible to the market. And there are other technical issues like pest and disease problems, right? And others like, for example, improved quality planting materials. Also, there is a need of those important issues that we need from the grower side. And obviously, the illegal import is there, so we need to check on that. To check on that, the government has to consult all the stakeholders, because that also affects all the players in the value chain. So that also, to implement the non-tariff barriers to check the illegal imports, the government has to consult all the stakeholders. So that is these are the important facts that the government should consider from our side, we think from our side.
Thank you so much, Shrestha. And thank you so much for being with us here. Now, we have international updates on the other side, but time for a short break now. The 62nd Munich Security Conference is underway at Munich, Germany from Friday to Sunday, convening more than 60 heads of states and government, 50 leaders of international organizations and participants from at least 115 countries. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says Europe must stand on our own 2 feet, while also announces that the UK will send a fleet of warships and fighter jets to the Arctic in 2026.
The road ahead is straight and it is clear. We must build our hard power because that is the currency of the age. We must be able to deter aggression. And yes, if necessary, we must be ready to fight, to do whatever it takes to protect our people, our values, and our way of life. And as Europe, we must stand on our own 2 feet.
Earlier, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told the summit that the U.S. and Europe belongs together, but it's critical for NATO as well as measures taken on climate change and migration. U.S. President Donald Trump has significantly ramped up the pressure on Tehran, stating that a change of government in Iran would be the best thing that could happen. This overt call for regime change comes as the world's largest warship, the USS General R. Ford, is redeployed from the Caribbean to join a massive U.S. armada in the Middle East.
Give us the deal that they should have given us the first time. If they give us the right deal, we won't do that. But, you know, historically, they haven't done that. I will say they want to talk, but so far they do a lot of talking and no action.
Bangladesh Prime Minister in waiting Tariq Rahman called for all to remain united and dedicated his sweeping win to those who sacrificed for democracy. Rahman's Bangladesh Nationalist Party BNP won a landslide victory in the country's election on Thursday, the first since a deadly 2024 uprising ousted the iron-fisted rule of Sheikh Hasina.
This victory belongs to Bangladesh. This victory belongs to democracy. This victory belongs to the people who aspire to and have sacrificed for democracy. I congratulate the people of Bangladesh by overcoming all obstacles. You have paved the way of establishment of democracy in the country.
The eastern province of Castellon in Spain has been placed under maximum red alert as Storm Oriana sweeps across the region, bringing the threat of hurricane force winds expected to exceed 140 km per hour. Authorities have warned that the storm could cause widespread disruption, including downed trees, power outages and damage to infrastructure, as well as dangerous conditions on roads and coastal areas. This alert comes in a wake of a series of severe storms that have battered various parts of Europe in recent weeks, causing floods, landslides and widespread property. To more updates from International Front and Sports Update, but it's time for a short break now. Visitors to a century-old festival in western Japan braved the winter cold for a thrilling highlight while throws of an ornamental pole into the air. The Akiba festival takes place in the town of Nyodogawa, Kochi Prefecture every February. It is said to have originated more than 200 years ago and is one of 3 major festivals in the prefecture. People dressed as samurai warriors and old-fashioned firefighters paraded uphill to the sound of Japanese drums and flutes. Carriers of golden portable shrine rocked it vigorously during the march. After arriving at Shinto's shrine, 2 men hurdled a roughly 7-meter-long pole back and forth between them. Now the sports news. The Nepal national cricket team is preparing for its third match in the ICC T20 World Cup 2026 in Mumbai. After completing their game against Italy, the team intensified practice sessions ahead of tomorrow's match against a strong opponent, the West Indies cricket team. Coaches and players are focusing on refining strategies and strengthening team performance to compete effectively against the Caribbean side. Tomorrow also promises another most awaited match as India faces Pakistan, a fixture widely regarded as one of the most anticipated and high-pressure encounters in world cricket. A dramatic incident unfolded on Saturday during the Sail GP race in Auckland when the boats representing France and New Zealand collided, resulting in the hospitalization of two sailors. French crew member Manon Audient and New Zealand's Louis Sinclair were both injured in the high-speed crash. The collision occurred as both teams navigated the challenging high-speed courses on Sail GP Waitemata Harbour with strong winds and tight competition, pushing the F-50 foiling catamarans to their limits. Organisers have confirmed that a full investigation will be conducted in accordance with international racing regulations to determine the cause of the collision. And before we wrap up, let's have a look at the headlines once again. Nepal's Election Commission completes printing of ballot papers for 142 constituencies. Only a fraction of candidates found to follow rules on campaign finances. Nepal elections spark economic surge. Election spending to boost market activity beyond 120 billion rupees. Saints gather from Nepal and abroad as preparations for Mahashivaratri festival complete at the Pashupatinath temple. World leaders gather in Munich for a second day of security conference. UK PM Starmer says Europe must stand on own 2 feet. Trump ramps up pressure on Tehran, says change of government in Iran to the best thing that can ever happen. And Nepal gears up for its third T20 World Cup 2026 match to be held tomorrow to face West Indies. That's all for the moment here on NTV World Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Do join us through our social media and get the latest update from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Suveksha Rajak. Thanks for staying with us here. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World,
Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. This is me, Bhavana Casey. In this edition, we bring you the stories making headlines across the globe, from landmark elections and high-stakes summits to groundbreaking scientific missions, remarkable human feats and cultural celebrations. We begin in South Asia, where Bangladesh has witnessed a historic election. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party BNP has won a majority of more than two-thirds of seats in parliament in a landmark election. These are the first polls since a student-led protest in 2024 ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who denies ordering a crackdown in which 1,400 people were killed. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party has claimed victory in the country's first election since the 2024 uprising, positioning itself to form the next government and potentially reshape Bangladesh's political landscape after years of intense rivalry and disputed polls. The Election Commission said the voters' turnout in Thursday's election stood at 59.44%. More than 127 million voters were eligible. Akhtar Ahmad, the senior secretary of the Election Commission, said that a majority of voters backed a proposal for constitutional reforms that was held alongside the election. The proposal included prime ministerial term limits and stronger checks on executive power. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party is headed by 60-year-old Tariq Rahman, its prime ministerial candidate who returned to Bangladesh in December after 17 years in self-exile in London. He is the son of former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, who died in December. Hasina's Awami League was banned from contesting the election, in which Jamaat, the Islamist party, came second. This week, two other Asian nations also went to the polls. In Japan, Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi and her Liberal Democratic Party secured a commanding majority, while in Thailand, Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul led his party to a victory and began forming a new coalition government. In Japan, Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi and her Liberal Democratic Party won a commanding majority in the lower house's election, giving them unprecedented legislative power. The victory marks a historic landslide for the ruling coalition, weakening opposition parties and solidifying Takaichi's mandate to push forward her policy agenda. While in Thailand, Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul led the Vumjai Thai party to a decisive win in the general election, securing the largest share of parliamentary seats. The party is now forming a coalition government with a few Thai party, ensuring a stable majority and continued leadership for Anutin. It is said the results signal a shift towards more pragmatic and stability-focused politics, following years of political turbulence and the decline of traditional dominance by few Thai. From politics to policy now. In the United States, President Donald Trump has reversed a key Obama-era scientific ruling that underpins all federal actions on curbing planet-warming gases. The White House called the reversal the largest deregulation in American history, saying it would make cars more cheaper. Speaking in the Oval Office, Trump said the 2009 ruling was a disaster Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry and massively drove up prices for American consumers.
In 2009, Barack Hussein Obama, his EPA designated fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and other things that actually make factories rock and roll and other things drive very nicely as a threat to health and human welfare, known as the endangerment finding. This determination had no basis, in fact, had none whatsoever, and it had no basis in law. On the contrary, over the generations, fossil fuels have saved millions of lives and lifted billions of people out of poverty and all over the world. And
Trump administration officials are stressing that overturning the regulation will save more than $1 trillion and will help cut the price of energy and transport. Reversing the finding will reduce automobile manufacturers' cost by $2,400 per vehicle, the White House claimed. While working on overturning the finding, the Trump administration also utilized the 2009 ruling to prevent states from passing the laws that would be stricter on carbon emissions. Environmental groups say the move is by far the most significant rollback on climate change it attempted and are set to challenge in the courts. Trump also said promoting coal power helps lower energy costs and boasted about withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord during an event at the White House. In Europe, leaders of the European Union met in Brussels this week to tackle pressing issues like energy security, migration, and regional stability. The talks aim to strengthen coordination among member states as the bloc faces economical and geopolitical challenges across Europe and beyond. NATO leaders urged European allies to take on a greater share of the alliance's defense responsibilities, emphasizing increased spending and military readiness amid shifting U.S. involvement and ongoing geopolitical tensions. At the summit, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte reiterated the call for a more European-led NATO, saying that Europe must boost defense spending and take greater responsibility for its own security.
We need a NATO which is more European-led. And how does that work out? It means Europeans spending more, taking more responsibility for their own defense. It is one of the biggest and richest parts of the world. The collective GDP of Europe, not only the European Union, but including Norway and including Turkey and including the United Kingdom and other countries not in the European Union. And of course the European Union nations also in NATO. That collective GDP is massive.
Financial aid for Ukraine's defense, while talks in Brussels highlighted a turning point as the alliance seeks to strengthen deterrence and collective defense. British Defense Minister John Healey, meanwhile, said Ukraine's Western allies have placed roughly $35 billion in military aid to Kiev so far this year.
Together, I can confirm at today's UDCG, we pledged a total of $35 billion worth of new military aid for Ukraine. For our part, the UK is spending the highest level of support for military aid for Ukraine ever. And at this UDCG, I announced a new £500 million package of urgent air defence support for Ukraine, President Zelensky's top priority.
The pledge comes amid ongoing discussions on boosting support for Ukraine's defence against Russian aggression. And in space news, Europe's new Ariane 6 has lifted off from Kourou, carrying 32 satellites for Amazon's low Earth orbit broadband network. Backed by Jeff Bezos, the constellation aims to challenge Starlink, the satellite internet service developed by Elon Musk in the rapidly expanding global broadband space race.
Europe's Ariane 6 successfully lifted off from Kourou, carrying 32 satellites for Amazon's low Earth orbit broadband network. The launch, the first major mission for the newly developed Ariane 6, marks a significant milestone in Europe's space ambitions and its entry into the rapidly growing satellite internet market. Backed by Jeff Bezos, the Amazon satellite constellation is designed to provide global high-speed internet coverage, targeting remote and underserved regions while competing directly with Starlink, the LEO network developed by Elon Musk. This launch represents a major escalation in the commercial space race as companies vie for dominance in the lucrative satellite broadband sector. This launch highlights the growing role of private companies in space infrastructure, with Amazon and SpaceX leading the charge in commercial satellite broadband, while Europe strengthens its domestic launch capabilities to remain competitive in the sector.
On the science front, Chinese researchers have made a breakthrough in Parkinson's disease treatment, improving patient outcomes by targeting a key brain network, offering hope for millions affected worldwide. Chinese scientists have discovered the core pathological brain network for Parkinson's disease, and direct medical intervention targeting this network in clinical studies has achieved positive outcomes. The findings made by a research team led by Professor Liu Hesing were published in the journal Nature on Thursday. According to China Parkinson's Disease Report 2025, more than 5 million people are living with Parkinson's disease in China, accounting for about 2/5 of the global patient population. Parkinson's disease has been a major global challenge for years. Clinical trial results show that after 2 weeks of treatment using the stimulator, the scan target group achieved a treatment efficacy rate of 55.5% compared to only 22.2% in the control group that targeted nearby brain areas. In Pakistan's Lahore, thousands of residents and visitors took to the rooftops as the Basanta Kite Flying Festival made a spectacular return after nearly 20 years. The springtime celebration, long banned over safety concerns, is now back under strict regulations aimed at keeping the skies colorful and safe. After nearly 2 decades, Pakistan's iconic Basanta Kite Flying Festival has returned to Lahore under strict government regulation, drawing thousands of residents and visitors to the city's rooftops as colorful kites filled the sky. The 3-day event marks the first major celebration of the traditional spring festival since its ban in 2008, when hazardous kite strings and related accidents prompted authorities to ban kite flying across Punjab. The revival follows the passage of the Punjab Regulation of Kite Flying Ordinance 2025, which allows Basanta to be celebrated on a limited scale within Lahore under strict safety protocols. Officials have banned sharp strings and chemical-coated lines and mandated individual QR codes and kites and strings for traceability, while rooftops hosting large gatherings are required to register with local officials. Officials and participants express hope that this year's regulated Basanta Kite Flying Festival could become a sustainable tradition once again, provided compliance with safety rules to help prevent the accidents that led to the long-standing ban. Bande Amir National Park in central Afghanistan is famous for its 6 deep blue lakes and a stunning mountain scenery, attracting visitors from inside and outside the country. As Afghanistan's first national park, it supports local tourism and protects rare plants and wildlife despite ongoing security challenges. Band-e-Amir National Park, located in central Afghanistan, is one of the country's most renowned natural attractions, drawing both domestic and international visitors to its dramatic landscape of mountains and lakes. Established in 2009 as Afghanistan's first national park, the site encompasses 6 deep blue lakes, which shimmer against rock cliffs and high-altitude terrain, creating a striking contrast that has made the park a symbol of the country's natural beauty. The park's lakes, with vivid blue and cobalt hues that have captivated photographers, hikers, and nature enthusiasts. Local officials say Band-e-Amir has become a focal point for tourism in the region, providing economic opportunities for nearby communities while showcasing Afghanistan's rich ecological heritage. Despite ongoing security challenges in the parts of the country, Band-e-Amir continues to attract visitors who travel to experience its clear waters, unique rock formations, and opportunities for hiking, boating, and wildlife observation. Conservationists emphasize that the park not only preserves Afghanistan's natural scenery but also protects rare flora and fauna, including migratory birds and endemic plant species, making it an important site for environmental stewardship in the country. In New York City, thousands of cats living inside neighborhood bodegas are at the center of a growing debate despite regulations banning animals from food stores. A proposal from City Council member Keith Power aims to legalize the so-called bodega cats, while animal welfare groups warn the plan may not guarantee a proper care.
Thousands of cats are kept in New York City's corner shops known as bodegas, despite regulations that prohibit animals in stores selling food. Simba, a ginger and white cat living in a Manhattan bodega, is one such animal, valued by shopkeepers for keeping mice away and attracting customers. The cats have become a cultural fixture in the city, prompting growing calls to legalize their presence. An estimated one-third of the city's roughly 10,000 bodegas are believed to have a resident cat, even though owners can face fines of up to $350. Photographer and activist Dan Ramada has launched a petition to legalize bodega cats, while City Council member Keith Powers has proposed legislation to shield shop owners from penalties and offer free vaccination and spay or neuter services. Animal welfare groups warn that the proposal may not ensure adequate care for the cats and argue that public funds would be better directed towards low-income families for pet welfare rather than businesses. New York is currently estimated to have a stray cat population of around 500,000.
Now to Peru, where over 100 couples dressed in white say "I do" in unison ahead of Valentine's Day in Lima, selling their love in a vibrant mass wedding ceremony presided over by the mayor of Lima.
The event, organized by the municipal government, was presided over by the mayor of Lima, who officiated the nuptials and congratulated the newlyweds on their commitment. The ceremony brought together couples from diverse backgrounds, creating a festive and heartwarming atmosphere as friends, families, and spectators cheered them on. The municipal initiative aims to provide an opportunity for couples, many of whom may not have been able to afford a traditional wedding, to celebrate their love in a memorable and communal setting. Participants expressed joy and gratitude, saying the mass wedding not only allowed them to formalize their relationships legally, but also offered a sense of unity and shared celebration with other couples. The event featured traditional music, decorations in red and white, and symbolic gestures that highlighted both romance and cultural heritage, making it a vibrant prelude to Valentine's Day across the city.
In South Korea, divers dressed in brightly colored hanbok plunged into a giant aquarium tank, creating a striking underwater celebration ahead of the Lunar New Year. The performance, staged among fish and coral to mark Seolal, blended centuries-old tradition with modern spectacle as South Korea prepares for one of its most important family holidays.
Scuba divers wearing brightly colored hanbok, South Korea's traditional dress, plunged into a large aquarium tank in Seoul. The stunt marked the upcoming Lunar New Year and delighted visitors with an unusual underwater celebration. The performance, staged among fish and coral, was designed to blend festive tradition with spectacle ahead of one of the country's most important holidays. Known locally as Seollal, the Lunar New Year is a major family occasion in South Korea, when people travel to their hometowns to honor ancestors, share traditional food, and exchange blessings. While the holiday is rooted in centuries-old customs, public events like the aquarium dive reflect how modern South Korea is finding creative ways to celebrate its cultural heritage and draw public attention to the festive season.
In China, performers lit up Shanghai's iconic waterfront with dazzling fireworks made by scattering molten iron into the air, while a lantern festival attracted crowds celebrating the arrival of Lunar New Year in China.
The streets and waterfront of Shanghai came alive with vibrant celebrations as performers created spectacular fireworks by scattering molten iron into the air, painting the night sky with showers of sparks. Crowds gathered along the Huangpu River to witness the dazzling display, which is part of the city's traditional Lunar New Year festivities. In addition to the fiery spectacle, a lantern festival drew families and tourists alike, with thousands of colorful lanterns illuminating parks and streets, symbolizing good fortune and the coming of a prosperous year. Vendors offered traditional snacks and cultural performances, adding to the festive atmosphere that has become a hallmark of Shanghai's spring celebrations. The event underscores the continued popularity of large-scale public festivities in China, despite ongoing health and safety precautions. Local authorities ensured high security and crowd management to allow visitors to enjoy the displays safely. The celebrations highlight cultural significance of Lunar New Year, blending ancient traditions with modern spectacle in one of China's most iconic cities.
Well, Shanghai's dazzling celebration of Lunar New Year brings us to the end of this episode of The World this week. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. We shall see you again next week with a new episode. Also, do follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com, our social media handles, as well as our YouTube channel. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
This is Geopod on NTV World. I'm Shivani Thapa Bosnath, and in this episode, we ask questions on democracy. Around the world, democracy is busy but uneasy. Elections are frequent, participation remains high, yet direction, stability, and trust are increasingly elusive. This is not a crisis of turnout, it is believed to be a crisis of consequence. And Nepal sits squarely inside this moment. A decade after a new constitution promised stability and inclusion, the country faces fragile coalitions, judicial interventions, and a public, especially its youth, growing impatient with politics itself. Elections are approaching at the moment, but confidence in what they will resolve is thin. Here at Geopod, we step back from personalities, from daily headlines, to ask a harder, more uncomfortable question. Is Nepal's instability a failure of leadership or a flaw in democratic design? And joining us in this crucial conversation is political analyst, author, Dr. Chandradev Bhatta. Welcome, Dr. Bhatta, to Geopod.
Thank you very much for inviting me to your important show.
And the pleasure is all ours. And before we move ahead and start judging the outcomes, Dr. Bhatta, let's define the system itself in our conversation. When you look at Nepal today, right, what, not in theory, but in practice, what kind of democracy has Nepal become? A majoritarian, a consensus-driven, or something more improvised?
Thank you very much. I think this is a very important question for us, primarily because Nepal has been practicing democracy for a long period of time. If you look at, we have a history of more than 70 years of practicing democracy. But during these 70 years, we have also seen many ups and downs. We have seen series of movements. Nepal has seen series, came up with different types of constitutions as well. But still, we talk about democracy, whether democracy is stable or are there any problems. I see if you look at from the perspective of a constitution today, Nepal is a constitutional democracy. Nepal is there are a lot of issues that Nepal needs to look into, but if you look at the actual state of democracy in Nepal, we are somehow practicing the consensus model of democracy. We also have to look into the constitution itself, because the current constitutions basically asks Nepal to move into the consensual model of democracy, primarily because it also, it's a diverse country. There are different types of people, different types of ethnicity. People have different types of opinions as well, language. We are a diverse state, and perhaps this could be the reason that our constitution puts a lot of emphasis on adopting the model which tries to bring all people together. At the same time, we also have got the proportional representation model. The very idea of these two models is to get all the people on board, so that democracy is not only owned by the certain political leaders or certain political parties, but it is owned by the people at large. That's the basic premises of the constitution. But in practice, I don't think we are really moving into the right direction. This is very, I think we have to accept this reality. We did not really practice the democracy as it has been envisioned in the constitution. Somehow, I would say, to answer your question whether Nepal is a consensual model of democracy or a majoritarian, I would say it's an electoral democracy, primarily because the democracy itself has been. I think it would be too harsh to say. People may not agree with this, but of late it has been hijacked by the professional political class through elections. And this is not only happening in Nepal, but it's happening all over the world. That's why we see a lot of disenchantment towards democracy everywhere in the world. It has nothing to do with the system per se, but it's the way it has been practiced.
So you would say this is largely an outcome of political behavior rather than by design in the Constitution?
It's not really, it's basically a political culture that has been developed over the period of time, not only in Nepal, and we see in other parts of the world as well. This perhaps is the reason why a lot of people, a lot of the universities in the West are discussing can we have an alternative model of elections as well, because largely the elections are used to hijack the democracy as well. And if the democracy only becomes the electoral and it does not really look into the substantial part of it, then you don't really people really don't like it. The dividend of democracy then will not be enjoyed by the all. The very idea of democracy is to it has to protect those who cannot protect themselves, and
we certainly will get there,
falling
Dr.
into
Bhatta,
that direction.
We'll certainly get there, because this discourse is certainly leading into the alternative spheres as to where the outlet of this desire would be. But let's focus on the instability that Nepal has come past since a prolonged period of transition, right? So is instability in Nepal, how do you as an analyst say, is it a malfunction, or is it the system operating exactly as it is built?
It's somehow, I would say, earlier you said the political behavior. I would say it's basically the political culture that we have developed. If you look into the constitutional framework, it has a lot of mechanism that can look into the instability part as well. But somehow, when the very objective of politics is defined by the political leaders from their own perspectives, then it does not really provide the type of stability that we all wanted. So I think I would say it's inherently designed over the period of time. It has become a feature of Nepali democracy or politics over the last couple of decades, I would say. We've been, if we just start from 1990 onwards, it's been more than 35 years we have been practicing democracy. But if we look into the history of during these periods as well, we have seen many governments, and we have witnessed different types of instabilities, not only the governmental instabilities, but also instability, constitutional instability, legislative instability, executive instabilities. These all types of instabilities are there. So they can be managed, they can only be managed through the democratic political culture, democratic political behavior, which somehow is missing in our political class. The political class somehow is not really exercising that part. Also, the constitutional provisions are there. Through constitution as well, we can also manage the instabilities. But the fact of the matter is that somehow, often the political class, political leaders, they try to define the laws also from their own perspectives. That somehow puts us in a very, very difficult situation. So I don't blame the system per se. It's basically the political behavior, political culture that we have developed over the period of time, which has been creating a lot of problems. The frustrations towards democracy. People think that it's not really delivering. So delivery can only come when we are really committed towards it. So that level of commitment is not really.
Let's move to delivery, Dr. Bhatta. Let's move to the center or the core or the soul of democracy, elections, right? You've already mentioned there has a time has come where people are looking for alternative electoral practices. Even the political class have been emphasizing on the need for a reform, right? So in this scenario, as we look back and look at the many number of elections that we've had in a very short period, how do you as an observer or an analyst see? Do elections in Nepal, did they fail to generate political clarity? Or what was the problem?
I don't say like that. I would say like this. I think elections are quite important for democracy. They certainly produce legitimacy because without a legal legitimacy, you cannot really govern. In order to be in that place, helm of the governance, one has to have certain legitimacy. So elections are Nepal certainly providing a legal, rational legitimacy, but they have failed to produce, I would say, the political legitimacy, primarily because elections are producing the government, but these government are not really being able to make the policies. The clarity, political clarity comes through the policies. So if you don't have a policy that aligns with the democratic values and principles, that creates a problem. So they do provide a clarity, legitimacy, but somehow these clarities are not really put into practice. So there is a clarity because political parties go to election, they have a manifesto, they have a programs, they have everything. They talk everything under the sun. So everything is in their manifestos. But the problem arises once you are elected, you become a minister or you become a member of parliament or you occupy that space, the political space or the position. Then you don't really, the political class, which is not, it's not happening here only, it's happening in other parts of the world as well. The accountability is the most important part. Government has to look into.
Right. So the issue is in delivery and being accountable. Right?
Accountability.
Yeah. No matter what the system provides,
yes.
If you fail to deliver, if you fail to be accountable, then that's where it certainly negotiates itself into paralysis, a sort of paralysis or frustration, right? Now this brings us to the engine room of Nepali politics, Dr. Bhatta. If you remember, the last time we met, we were talking about Nepal's coalition culture, and this was before, well before the transition and the movement happened, right? Yes. But if you just pan through the world, you would certainly agree coalition has become a new norm globally,
course,
right?
Yes, yes.
Not the exception, of course. Why has coalition government in Nepal produced immobilization rather than compromise?
I think this is one of the most important questions, and I would say this is the question of our time, and we should try to answer this question. Because as you said, coalition has become a norms now, not only in Nepal but in many other countries, even the Western developed democracies. If you look at the Western Europe, they have been practicing coalition culture for a long period of time, right after the Second World War until today. Germany is governing through the coalition parties only. Coalition government has been there, and in Netherlands, after the election, they only expect coalition government. They don't have any other alternatives. So it's happening everywhere. In South Africa, 1994. So majority of the countries today are practicing coalition culture. And I don't think there are very slim chances that a single party will come into the politics and will with absolute majority, because in today's world the issues are different. We don't have a common. People have got their own interests, own issues, and the ideological political parties are becoming weaker because in the past there used to be ideological political parties, and under the ideology they used to garner the majority, but we don't have that situation today. It's a fragmented issues, fragmented situation. So I think then, but still there are some countries which have successfully governed through coalition culture, and some countries who have really done miserably failed. I would say we have been practicing coalition government, at least I would say from 2005, 6, and even before that. But somehow our coalition culture is not really based on certain principles, because we need to have principles for that. We need to have a coalition framework. Why do we want to come together? And that has not really been worked out in the past and clarified. Coalitions are largely built around the power sharing agreements only, and we don't see much of a discussion related to policies. So if the coalition governments are only formed on the basis of power sharing agreement, they don't really succeed. If they are also backed up by the policies and programs, and if they really wanted to take people's concern into consideration, they will definitely succeed. Another important part is our society, as I said earlier, although the ideology is dying out, but still, the political leaders, political parties, they come up with different types of ideology. So I think we should also try to minimize the differences and look for the common position where we can work together. So if we work in that direction, I don't see any problem with the coalition. But again, at the end of the time, the most important part in politics is why do we want to do politics is the most important part. Whether you wanted to do something for the people or you wanted to do something for yourself or only for your parties. If we really don't answer that question, I don't think we will go anywhere. If you ask anybody today, the youths or people of any ages, ask them a question, why do you want to come into the politics? I don't think they will have answers that satisfies us, because everybody would say, I want to serve this country. But there are people who have been serving in this country for a long period of time. But still people are not really happy about it with their service. So I think the part of the problem is the framework. We don't have the framework. Clear framework is not there. Also the very intention of the coalitions. Why do you want to do that? Whether it is for just to stay in the power or to do something for the country or to do some, to improve the life of the people. That's the objective of the politics.
These stakeholders need to ponder on. We will certainly come to that later, Dr. Bhatta. Let's still keep our focus on the discontent of the people, right? Which is quite visible.
Yes.
We saw that. We come past to one very important transition. And this time, this discontent has percolated down to the younger generation. Generation which should have been engaged in their skill development and capacity development, they are now taking to the street. But the issue of concern, I believe you would agree with me, is the discontent remains or is visibly very fragmented even in that mass, right? So what does this fragmentation tell us?
That's very true. The people are discontent, and there are reasons for that, and everybody has got their own reasons for being a discontent. I just wanted to give you an example. The first line of Leo Tolstoy's novel, Anna Karenina, they write, every happy family is happy. There is only one reason for that, because they are just happy. And every unhappy family is unhappy because there are more than one reason for that. So if you look at if we just try to, contextualize that line in the Nepali political context, so if we see certain people are happy because democracy is there for them and it's really working. In fact, it's a thriving. And there are people who are unhappy and they have more than one reason. There are youths of different types. There are youths coming from the urban centers. There are youths coming from the rural areas. The youths coming from the urban center have different challenges, and youths coming from the rural areas have different challenges. There are highly educated people. There are less educated people. So different types of peoples are there in the protests as well. And these protests have happened without a leader, because they were not led by anyone. So they were, I would say, some sort of, these people came out in the street to just vent out their frustrations. So they all have got their own issues which they wanted to express through the street protest. This has not been, there has not been a unified movement for the reason that these issues are also scattered, fragmented. There perhaps could have been a unified, what we call a social movement or a movement, if they were guided by the certain agendas, or they have common issues, we don't really see that common issues. But still, despite all these fragmentations, we can see one common factors. Whether you come from outside of Kathmandu, or you come from a city, or you are educated, uneducated, whether you want to go outside for a work, you are going to be aspirant migrant workers, whatever background you have got, or whatever futures you wanted to pursue. The one common thing is that the governance is a problem. The governance is not really happening the way it should work in this country. That's the common voice we can see in each and every protest. And then the second point that we can see, or we can observe, is the which is also somehow linked with the governance itself, the issue of service delivery. And third one is everybody is talking about, people wanted to go out, we cannot stop them, because it's a free world, and individuals have the choice whether they wanted to stay in this country, work here, or whether they wanted to go outside. But the very objective of the state is to provide bare minimum opportunities within the countries. I think we have terribly failed there. That's why these movements are happening from their own ways. They have their own understandings. Apart from that, Nepali society also has been divided along those in a different line. But one of the most important line is there are people. I do not really wanted to be too critical about the political parties or the political practices, but that's the reality here. I just wanted to explain. There are people who are aligned with the political parties. There are people who already have got something to their disposals. But there are youths, who don't see the future of their own in this country. But they need to be protected. So their voice, the voices might be fragmented. They might have a different issues. But it's the duty of the state or the people who are in the politics or who are going to be at the helm of power. They need to look into their issues. Otherwise, this will create problems. Today we are in a situation of poly-crisis. If the poly-crisis prolongs, we will enter into a next phase, which is called perma-crisis, permanent crisis. So it's quite an important. If the situation moves into that direction, paralysis, the poly-crisis becomes perma-crisis. That will really be bad, not only for the democracy, but for a whole society, because people will lose hope. Confidence is the most important part.
Trust. Let me interrupt you right there, Dr. Bhatta, because this is what Nepal is headed for. I think this is majority of public aspiration, that this prime or fundamental concern would be addressed by the political players itself. Yes. And again, let me get back to you to the discontent, right? We see there is discontent. It's fragmented, of course, for the very reasons that you've shared. But this is not just about discontent and not only about anger. It's also about the absence of political alternatives, right? Yes. This has been long sought, but from here, how do you foresee the future? This is,
I think you've linked it very nicely, because we're entering into the next phase of our discussions, because this discontent has happened primarily because the government of the day has failed to deliver, or they're not happy with the way politics has been functioning, or the system per se is working. Right? And people, it's not only in Nepal, the discussion on the alternative politics is happening in almost everywhere, and people are looking for a change. That's the human nature. And the idea of alternative politics has also been floated in Nepal. It's been almost 6 years. People are talking about the alternative politics, but the way alternative politics is coming, is not really, I don't want to blame them because they're not really into the government yet, but just looking by their, the agendas or the way they are coming up is also not really encouraging. I would say the alternative politics in Nepal is still the leftover or the residue of the past politics, I would say, because you see the same people there as well. You don't see much, agendas. They also don't have agendas. The clarity, the political clarity is also missing there. The alternative politics is basically building around the unsuccess or the failure of the older political class, and it's operating on the binaries. Basically, we are good people and they are bad people. So it's some sort of binaries which is creating, which is developing some sort of what we call populism as well. I would say the alternative politics is also harping on these issues. If they really come up with certain agendas, let's suppose, how do they want to change the politics? We don't really talk about economics, which is the most important part in politics. How do they want to change economic future of the country? The bulging youth population that come into this country, like around 7 lakhs plus people, youths every year. How much job are we going to create for them is quite important. I think that should be the discussion, rather than blaming each other. That blaming game is going on for a long period of time. Old class is blaming the new class for creating instability, for destroying the system, whereas the new class is saying that these people have destroyed us, they have finished everything. So I don't think this is not really going to lead us anywhere. The discussion would be centered around what are the issues that we should work together, and what are the factors that is leading discontent and state protest repeatedly in this country. Why there has been a conflict or the movement in every 10 years? I think we should try to answer this question. Every 10 years from 1950 onwards, we see one type or the other type of change happening here. But we've never tried to answer that question, because there are certain reasons behind that, why that happens. Because every 10 to 15 years, we have a new generations coming in politics, right? And we have the political practices, political behavior are the same, and we're not really creating opportunities for these people. And we also don't try to understand their sentiment, feeling. Definitely they will come up with their own imagination, they will have their own worldviews. So if we don't try to look into their concerns, they will have to rebel. There is no alternative.
The point you want to make is any political force, the traditional or the newer ones, whoever has the central agenda as economy would be or is the alternative force that the Nepali people is seeking at the moment.
I think that should be the priority for all the political parties, because we have a constitution. We are a democratic state. Even in democracy, the modern democracy was not there. The countries like us have been practicing democracy for ages, right? We don't have to say that we just have practiced democracy. It's been it's a very short history. I don't buy that argument, because the very the very spirit of this society is democratic society. It's only that we need to, but the situation has changed over the period of time. Political economy is changing. We really need to adjust the society, the aspirations of the people with the changes that are happening within the country and that are happening outside the country as well, because we cannot remain aloof from the outside world. So that should be the, I think, priority. And the stability, we've been talking about stability for a long period of time. Stability alone it does not guarantee it does not guarantee, there will be a prosperity. Right? To be a prosperous country, to have a citizen who can, have some hope in the country, I think we need to work in that direction. And economy is the most important part. But sadly enough, I would say, we've not really been able to do the three things. First, the political management. It's been going on for a long period of time. There are countries which have come into the world limelight, I would say. They are younger countries, I would rather say. They've not really, they have moved ahead. We've not really been able to manage the politics. The second one issue is the survival function of the state, I would say. Survival means survival of its people and survival of the sustainability of the system and the state. I think we also need to work in that direction.
Right. So at this point of time, when Nepal is looking forward with a lot of hope, and maybe a little grim on side, some are calling this situation, the situation we are living at the moment, as chaos. Some say it's a new dawn, right? From an expert's lens, what would you call this situation? Is Nepal experiencing democratic fatigue or democratic maturity?
I think it's everything would depend. I think that you get the two interesting words in your question, the chaos and dawn. It depends how you look into the things. It's entirely depends on the way people try to interpret it. But I would say we have to be pessimistic about the future. If we don't have pessimism, I don't think we have to be optimistic. Sorry, not pessimistic. We have to be optimistic about the future of the politics. The change, the chaos can be managed, and we can come out of this crisis, provided that the political class, whether they come from a new parties or new groups or the old ones, they should come together. And they can, if they work together for the country, for the people, I think there is a lot of hope. There is a lot of optimism, not always a pessimism. And change, change is the nature of the society, and change is that's the only thing which is permanent. Change is the only permanent. So I don't see much of a problem, provided that political parties and all they work together and they work for this country, and they manage the, we're not fighting with outsiders. The struggle is within the country and within our own people, the political parties, whichever background you come from. So that part has to be managed. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So wherever we are, at whatever point, optimism is very, very pivotal.
That's
right?
most important.
And again, this brings us to a very, very pivotal concern, because legitimacy doesn't, disappear very quietly.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the viewers outside Nepal, Dr. Bhatta. Why should they care about this political adrift here in Nepal?
I think it's quite important for Nepal as well as for them to look into what is happening here in this country. At least I would say for three reasons. First, is Nepal's geographic locations, which is quite important, and the way geopolitics is developing, not only in this part of the world, but in other regions as well. The second is the regional stability, I would say. That is also quite important. If anything happens bad in this country, if Nepal becomes too unstable and goes for a long period of time, that will create instability in the region as well. Third, there is something called, the global goods, I would say. Democracy is a global good. It's something that, universal values. And Nepal is just coming out of, it's a post-conflict society. We went through 10 years of insurgency, and during this period of time and during the constitution writing process or the peace process, international community has provided a lot of support to Nepal as well. So if Nepal moves back, if Nepal slides back, or if it reverts to the conflict or problems, political instability, it will not be good for the international society as well. And it has to be, if the instability keeps on, it becomes the normal practice in this country, instability. I think that will also create a problem for a broader, in a broader geopolitical context. So it's quite an important. Also, in today's globalized world, Nepal's political problem is not only Nepal's problem. That becomes a global problem as well. Everybody is quite concerned about it. Just the classic example I just wanted to give you is the, what happened in recent, in West Asian countries, which conflict has been there for a long period of time, or what has happened in Venezuela or any other parts of the country. We also become concerned about it. So concern is some sort, it's not always a negative thing, I would say. Concerns also is, they also wanted some sort of, it creates a solidarity, I would put it like this, some sort of solidarity, because we've been a part of an international community for a long period of time, and we've been supported by the international community during the peace process, as I said earlier. So it is quite important, not only for Nepal but also for the regional stability and for the international community as well. So any problem, it's a trickle-down effect, will affect not only have consequences for the region and for the people inside, but it can also be the problem for outsiders.
How much of this instability diminish Nepal's strategic relevance? Like, does it simply change, does it change how we interact or engage with our neighbors?
I think it's quite an important question, and I think we really need to look into it very, very seriously, because last year or the year before that, the French newspaper Le Monde wrote about Nepal, and the headline was Nepal is a world champion of political instability or something like that. That was what Le Monde reported. If the reporting about Nepal in the international press, or if the international community always sees or knows Nepal from instability perspectives, I don't think that will really be good for us. And in today's world, basically in today's context, I would say, when geopolitics is at its height, at multiple levels, if we become politically unstable, I don't think we will really be able to address the challenges that geopolitics is coming up in the region and beyond that. Also, our interactions at the international level, for a state like Nepal, engagement at the international level is quite important, and that will also be impacted. So I think the prolonged instability will definitely weaken us, will not really help us to negotiate with other powers, other countries as well. So I think that's quite an important part, and we have to we should be able to address these questions. Why instability all the times? And so which is because this is already impacting the internal political dynamics, and it is also going to have an impact for the broader geopolitical landscape as well. So we need to find out where the problems lies.
So what do you think, how is the international community reading Nepal at the moment?
I think the Gen Z movement was a turning point in Nepal. I think in a recent political history, Lenin said there are decades where nothing happens, and there are weeks where decades happen. And many things happen. If you look at during the 24 hours time, many things happened in this country, and I don't whether people may not agree on it, but the institutions were become basically very weak as well. since then, the way international community looks into Nepal is not that really encouraging for us. If you look at the problems that happened in the streets and the state takeover, it would be too harsh, but it's a kind of a state takeover from the street, which is not really a positive sign. If it becomes a trend or norms in the future, I think that will be really, really problematic for us, for a democratic stability or any type of stability that we aspired for. Also, what we need, we've been talking about politics all the times, and in order to be a stable politics, we need a stable economy as well, and for that we need international support, investment, international investment. And if we become unstable, and if the situation continues like this, the level of support or the investment that Nepal is to receive from outside will definitely decrease as well. It will also have consequences for the I think during that time, I don't know how the situation is now, but a lot of countries were quite reluctant to provide the travel permissions to Nepal as well. I think it was very concerning. They were became quite concerned. So today, I think international community put together, they definitely wanted to have a stable Nepal. They must have been reading the development in Nepal very closely. If you look at the recent development, the way Nepal has been put into the categories of those 73 countries, the 75 countries,
right.
that's already alarming. That's already indicating something. So it's instability can turn into a conflict, and conflict into a civil war. I'm sorry to say all these things, but it's a very difficult situation. So we have to be quite careful about all these things. We have to understand the nitty-gritty of the situation, I would say, the political things and all these.
Right. These very concerns, and then there are speculations, there are rumors making rounds.
Of course, yes.
There are misinformation, disinformation,
yes.
right? So amidst all this, let us move towards closing this conversation with you, Dr. Bhatta. Let me end here with, amidst all this, with a very hard question. 10 years from now, will Nepal's democracy look stronger or similar or familiar?
I hope we have a stronger democracy. That's a hope, and we can hope for that. But I can just split into two parts. The next 5 years, I think we're not really going to be stable as we want. Because of the recent political development as well. If you look at the split of the political parties, and there is some sort of not really a conflict, but disagreement between and among different types of political forces as well. That will take a time to settle down. So I would give next 5 years for that. And if we work carefully, next for another 5 years might provide a political stability, and we have a new generations coming up. They are well read, they are well exposed as well to the international development. They know what's happening in the world. So we basically have to rely on them. The future lies with them. So how do we want to develop them? Depends, will decide the fate of this country as well. The politics is there, but the future generations, the youngsters, those who are coming into politics, in society, in economics, how do we want to shape their future, will shape the future of this country as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhatta, for coming over, sharing your insights, and moreover for helping us read our democratic journey.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for this
opportunity. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you here.
Same here.
Right. This was a conversation about democracy, not as an event, but as a system under stress. Nepal's choices in this moment will echo beyond its borders, as our expert just shared with us. Because democracies everywhere are asking the same question at the moment. Not whether people vote, but whether systems still decide. That's it from Geopod this week. Good night.
चौरी खड्क हेलो
एकदमै राम्रो रहेछ रिफ्रेस्ड फिल भयो त्यो क्योसबाट अलि टाढा आएको जस्तो
यहाँसम्मको एउटा केबल कार भइदिए एकदम बेटर हुन्थ्यो जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई
माहौल अथवा यहाँको वातावरण यति रमणीय छ कि यसलाई शब्दमा वर्णन गरेर पनि साध्य छैन
Clay houses stacked upon one another, the white Himalayan peaks, vibrant flower gardens of Bukit Batan, melodious rivers and lakes, and unique authentic arts and culture. All of these make Eastern Rukum a place that captivates every visitor. Our aim is to bring this distant, remote land closer to all. This time our destination is Chauri Khorg, located at an altitude of about 4,000 meters above sea level. Our trek begins at Pati Hanune. On the border of Eastern Rukum and Baglung along the Mid-Hill Highway. Though it is said that the hike to Chauri Khorg takes around 3 hours, we wonder how long it will take us.
Wow! I'm very happy.
हामीले यस्तो मजाको सिन हेर्न पाइएन अहिले चाहिँ त्यही अब आज हजुर
बिहान 5 बजे आएर ल्याएको हिजो बेलुका त पुरै कुहिरो दियो यहाँ त केही देखिदैन
Chaurik sits high in the hills of Bhumi Rural Municipality 1 in eastern Rukum. It is truly a rare gift of nature, beyond words to fully describe. The northern peaks, Puta, Dhaulagiri, Churi, and Sisni, they reveal themselves in full grandeur. Rivers flowing through the valleys, including the northern Ganga and Nisel Dhor, together with the backdrop of Dhor Patan, enchant every traveler. Travelers walk along narrow trails, disappearing and reappearing through the mist, immersed in the enchantment of the landscape.
हाम्रो वरिपरिको यो डाँडाहरू भ्यू भनेको उसु भने वाइल्ड फ्लावर्सले सबैले एकदम रिफ्रेश त्यही नै भन्ने होला आउनु पनि वर्थ इटै छ.
The weary faces of trekkers brighten as they take in these views, and you can clearly see joy and wonder reflected in their eyes. Fatigue melts away into the beauty of nature. Eastern Rukum is blessed with a wealth of natural treasures, mountains, rivers, lakes, caves, and valuable. In recent years, Chaudhry Kharka has become an increasingly popular destination for domestic travelers, drawing visitors eager to witness its natural magnificence.
Welcome to the Hinterlands. This weekly show whips together stories from the hinterlands of Nepal, takes you beyond the cities and highways into the heart of Nepal's rural landscapes. It's a country alive with stories, laughter, ideas, and everyday magic. I'm Rosina Rai, and we will be leading you into this journey every week. Nepal has always stood proudly on the global stage for its rich history and cultural legacy, including Kapilvastu, the birthplace of Lord Gautam Buddha. Tonight we travel in this sacred land where Nepal's heritage has once again captured international attention. Archaeologists have uncovered the country's first ever aspidal Buddhist temple in the ancient city of Kapilvastu, a rare and remarkable discovery. Experts say the finds offers fresh insight into early Buddhist architecture in South Asia, shedding new light on the region's spiritual and historical evolution.
Nepal's rich cultural and historical heritage has captured global attention once again. Archaeologists have uncovered the country's first apsidal Buddhist temple in the ancient city of Tilarakot, Kapilvastu, located in Lumini province, southern Nepal, near the birthplace of Lord Buddha. This rare discovery provides new insight into early Buddhist architecture in South Asia. The excavation was conducted by a joint team from Nepal's Department of Archaeology, the Lumini Development Trust, and the University of Durham, United Kingdom. Apsidal temples, recognized by their curved or rounded rear ends, are considered a unique type of religious monument in South Asia. Early apsidal temples were carved from rock, while later versions were built using stone, wood, or brick. The newly discovered temple is particularly remarkable because it was constructed within the city complex rather than as a separate religious site. The temple sits atop the remains of an early palace complex.
ईस्वी संवतको 1898 मा भारतीय पुरातत्वविद पीसी मुखर्जी यो क्षेत्रमा काम गर्न आउनु त्यतिबेला लुम्बिनीको खोजी भइरहेको थियो केही वर्ष अगाडिदेखि लुम्बिनी प्राप्त भइसकेको थियो लुम्बिनी प्राप्त भइसकेपछि लुम्बिनी चिनिसकेपछि कपिलवस्तु पनि यसैको सेरोफेरोमा हुनुपर्छ भन्ने हिसाबमा खोजी गर्दै अन्तखेरि उहाँले चाहिँ उत्खनन गर्नुभयो उत्खनन गरिसकेपछि पहिलो पल्ट उहाँले नै दाबी गरे।
The walls are approximately 1.5 meters thick and the overall structure measures 100 meters in length and height. Following the abandonment of the palace, the site became a major center for devotion and monasteries were constructed over the remnants. This discovery establishes Tilarakot Kapilvastu as an important center of early Buddhist worship, enhancing our understanding of the ancient religious structures and urban planning in the region. This historic find not only strengthens the preservation and promotion of Nepal's archaeological heritage, but also underscores the long-standing religious significance of Tilarakot Kapilvastu. Situated in the same province as Lumbini, the birthplace of Lord Buddha, Tilarakot Kapilvastu adds another layer to Nepal's extraordinary Buddhist heritage, attracting scholars, pilgrims, and global heritage enthusiasts alike.
From the historic discovery, we now move east in Nepal, where construction is racing ahead on the much-anticipated Falgunanda trekking route. This ambitious ecotourism project in Kosi province aims to blend cultural heritage with spiritual significance, promising a new frontier in rural travel. Slated for full operation by 2028, the route is set not only to boost tourism but also promote spiritual work. Construction of the 56-kilometer Falgunanda trekking route, primarily in the eastern districts of Nepal, Ilam and Pasthar, has been accelerated. The trekking route is expected to be complete by 2028, with construction particularly intensified along the streets from Maipokhari to Chintapu. The trail, starting from Fidim in Pasthar, was surveyed last year. The project is a joint initiative of the federal, provincial and local governments. Once completed, the Falgunanda trek will connect Maipokhari, Chintapu and Sandakpur, offering a rich cultural and spiritual experience through the scenic landscapes of eastern Nepal. Named after the revered Kirat leader and national luminary Falgunanda Lingdil, the trail is expected to attract visitors interested in both spiritual and cultural tourism.
हाम्रो सन्दकपुरमा 15.6 किलोमिटर जम्मा रहेछ हैन यो पाली लगभग हामी 7.5 किलोमिटर जति यो पाली हाम्रो बन्छ यो ट्रेल अनि परिधिको संरचना परि हामी लगभग 2-3 किलोमिटरको अराउन्डमा हामी बनाउने छौं।
The trail is expected to attract visitors interested in both spiritual and cultural tourism. Construction is currently underway in 4 sections, with 7 kilometers planned for development within Ilam district. Local consumer committees are overseeing 3 trail construction and rehabilitation projects, along with 1 peripheral infrastructure initiative. According to Sam Rai, Secretary of the Construction Committee, the route will create local employment opportunities, support homestay business, and foster broader community development. In addition to promoting religious tourism, the enthusiasm of the locals in expediting the construction of the natural trails comes amid track records of delays in most of the projects in the country. The project is a rare example of all 3 tiers of government's involvement, along with the financial aid from the Swiss government. Nepal is home to an extraordinary mosaic of indigenous communities known as Adivasi Janajati, each preserving its own distinct traditions, rituals, and cultural identity. With more than 59 recognized indigenous groups representing 35.4% of the nation's population, Nepal's cultural landscape stands as one of the most diverse in the world. For generations, indigenous knowledge, skills, and practices have shaped not only community life but the very identity of the nation. Yet, as time passed and modernization accelerates, many of these invaluable traditions face the risk of fading away. In response to this growing concerns, an indigenous conference was recently held in Kathmandu, bringing together voices from across the country to preserve, protect, and promote Nepal's rich ethnic heritage. Nepal is home to 59 officially recognized indigenous nationalities, Adivasi Janajati, each with its own language, cultural practices, and traditional knowledge. However, many indigenous languages, folk songs, dances, and ethnic skills are now facing the threat of extinctions, and many are in the verge of disappearance. Experts stress that preserving this knowledge and cultural heritage requires urgent action. Recognizing this urgency, a 3-day Nepal Indigenous Knowledge Conference was held in the capital city, Kathmandu. The conference brought together more than 800 indigenous representatives from across the country. It was organized by the National Foundation for Development of Indigenous Nationalities under the theme Exchange of Knowledge, Preservation of Heritage, and Building the Future. Cultural knowledge sharing, preservation, and intergenerational learning was central to the discussions. Passed down from generations to generation, indigenous knowledge reflects centuries of lived experience and deep harmony with nature. However, the migration of younger generations away from ancestral lands as one of the foremost reasons creating gaps in knowledge transmission. Rapid modernization, urban migration, changing lifestyles, and weak institutional protection were also highlighted as contributing factors. Cultural experts emphasized the importance of documenting oral traditions through written, audio, and visual media so that they can be preserved beyond memory alone.
अब आजभोलिको जुन जेनेरेसन आजभोलिको जो संस्कारलाई एउटा विदेशी संस्कार ल्याउने भन्दाखेरि यसमा आएको हुनाले चाहिँ हाम्रो पौराणिक जुन एउटा संस्कार संस्कृति पनि हराउँदै गएको देखिन्छ। तसर्थ यो संस्कार संस्कृतिलाई अझ पनि जगेर्ना गर्नको लागि हामीले यस सम्मेलनद्वारा पुनः पुरानै हाम्रो संस्कारलाई पनि जुन लोपामुख छ जो धेरै एउटा चाहिँ आधुनिक युगले चाहिँ बनाउँदै आएको कुरालाई चाहिँ लोप गर्दै आएका छन् त्यसलाई एउटा चाहिँ पुनः जागरण दिनको लागि अर्थात् पुनः यसलाई चाहिँ सञ्चालनको लागि यसलाई जगेर्ना गर्नको लागि आजको यो सम्मेलन चाहिँ हाम्रो आयोजना गरेको छ।
The conference concluded that preserving indigenous knowledge in Nepal is not only about protecting culture but also about safeguarding identity, dignity and continuity for future generations. A collective effort from the state, indigenous communities nationwide, and especially the younger generations who carry this heritage forward is strongly urged to safeguard Nepal's indigenous assets. In many parts of remote Nepal, access to healthcare remains a luxury rather than a basic service. For countless families, medical treatment still means traveling long distances, often to district headquarters or even the capital. But in the hills of northern Dhading, that reality is beginning to change. In Ganga Jamuna Rural Municipality, a locally operated rural hospital is transforming lives by bringing free and quality healthcare services closer to home. This community-driven initiative is not only improving access to treatment, it is also easing the financial and physical burden on villagers who once faced exhausting journeys for even the most basic medical care. A small hospital making a big difference. In the remote hills of northern Dhading, Nepal, a quite a transformation is reshaping the way healthcare is delivered. With the establishment of a locally managed rural hospital, villagers are now able to access quality medical services within their own community. Through mobile health camps and door-to-door health services under rural hospitals, health workers travel to different villages, conduct screenings and distribute medicines directly within local settlements. The initiative has been especially important in Ganga Jamuna Rural Municipality, where many young people have migrated abroad for foreign employment, leaving behind communities largely made up of elderly residents. For years, residents of municipality had no option but to travel long distances to the district headquarters or even to Kathmandu for basic checkups and treatment. For elderly villagers and low-income families, these journeys were not only exhausting but also financially overwhelming. Today, residents say the impact has been profound. The need to spend money on travel, accommodation and costly treatment outside the district has been significantly reduced. Recognizing this reality, health workers have expanded their efforts beyond the hospital wall.
जस्तो त्यहाँ सुविधा धेरै राम्रो हुन परेको अब डिसी पनि राम्रो सेवा सुविधा छ राम्रो छ फाइदा हजुर अब काठमाडौँ जानु पर्दैन झाँसी जानु पर्दैन अब आर्थिक जोग्य भनेर हजुर.
This outreach approach ensures that even those unable to travel receive timely and essential health care. Local authorities view the program as a major step toward strengthening Nepal's primary healthcare system at the grassroots level. Inspired by its success, other remote local governments in Dhading district have recently begun introducing similar door-to-door health services, particularly for senior citizens. From the high Himalayas to the lower belts of Nepal, climate change remains a pressing concern, a topic we frequently explore here on the hinterlands. In our final report tonight, we turn to Nepal's wetlands, including the internationally recognized Ramsar-listed Jagdishpur Lake, where a sharp decline in bird populations is witnessed recently. Nepal's wetlands are calling for attention, and the clock is ticking. Nepal has 242 recognized wetlands covering 743,500 hectares, including 10 vital Ramsar sites of international importance, ranging from high-altitude glacier lakes to the tropical ponds. Key wetlands including Kosi Tapu, Jagdishpur, Ghoda-Ghori, Rara Lake, and the Gokyu Lake system, which provide crucial habitats for biodiversity in Nepal. These wetlands are critical habitat for over 500 species of resident and migratory birds. However, bird populations, particularly at Jagdishpur wetland in Kapilvastu district of Nepal, a Ramsar recognized site, are steadily declining. Spanning 157 hectares, Jagdishpur Lake is the second largest human-made lake in Asia. Increasing human encroachment and limited attention from authorities have caused bird numbers across the country's lake to drop year by year. Latest census recorded 90,688 waterbirds from 89 species, nearly 6,000 less than last year. In 2018, the lake hosted 23,000 birds, but by 2026, only 10,282 remain. Experts attribute this decline to human activities, unplanned use of wetlands, and climate change. Boating, picnic, noise pollution, and uncontrolled riverbed excavation have further stretched these fragile ecosystems.
जलपक्षी र चाहिँ आगन्तुक जलपक्षीहरू चाहिँ आज बाध्य छन् ती हाम्रो मानवीय गतिविधिबाट सिर्जित यी पोल्युसनसँग र त्यहाँ चाहिँ भएका चाहिँ सबै फोहोरहरूसँग चाहिँ बाँच्न विचरण गर्न र आफ्नो प्रजनन गर्ने अथवा चाहिँ बास बस्ने त्यहाँ चाहिँ विचरण गर्ने देखि लिएर त्यहाँ चाहिँ यो विश्राम गर्ने सम्पूर्ण गतिविधिमा चाहिँ असर चाहिँ त्यसले गरिराखेको चाहिँ पाइएको अवस्था छ.
Proper conservation and management of Ramsar listed wetlands in Nepal is an urgent climate and biodiversity priority. These wetlands span diverse landscapes from the subtropical Tarai Plains to the high Himalayas and include rivers, lakes, and marshes. And immediate attention from authorities and stakeholders is crucial to safeguard Jagdishpur Lake and other wetlands, ensuring these natural treasures are preserved for the future biodiversity balance in the country. Beyond the cities and the headlines, real lives continue to unfold. Stories shaped by struggle, strengthened by resilience, and carried forward by hope. This is the Hinterlands, and we will be back next week with more stories from the heart of Nepal. Goodbye for now.
सिमरौनगढ दरबार खुल्ला इतिहास, कला र संस्कृतिको एउटा संग्रहालय। इतिहास, सभ्यता र कलाको रहस्य बोकेको सहर सिमरौनगढ। एउटा छुट्टै इतिहास रच्न सफल सहर सिमरौनगढ। ऐतिहासिक, सांस्कृतिक र पुरातात्विक महत्व बोकेको सिमरौनगढ दरबार मध्य प्रदेशको बारा जिल्लामा अवस्थित सिमरौनगढ नगरपालिकामा पर्दछ। बारा जिल्लाको सदरमुकाम कलैयाबाट 20 किलोमिटर दक्षिण पूर्वमा रहेको सिमरौनगढ नगरपालिकाको कार्यालयबाट करिब 500 मिटर दक्षिण पश्चिम गएपछि सिमरौनगढ दरबार पुग्न सकिन्छ। सिमरौनगढको सम्बन्ध सिमलको वंशसँग रहेको तथ्य नेपालमा प्राप्त सबभन्दा पुरानो वंशावली गोपालर वंशावलीले प्रस्ट्याएको छ। सो वंशावलीमा यस स्थललाई सिमरावनगढ भनी उल्लेख छ, जसको अर्थ हुन्छ सिमलको वनमा रहेको किल्ला। सिमलको वन रहेको यो क्षेत्र सिमरावनगढबाट अपभ्रंश हुँदै सिमरौनगढ भएको मान्यता छ।
यो सिमरौनगढ नाउँ भने यहाँ पहिले सिम्बलको खाली रुख यहाँ सिम्बलको थियो। यो सिम्बलको वन भन्नु पर्यो नि, यहाँ सिम्बलको वन थियो पहिले। यसको माझमा बीचमा नि यो गढ थियो, यो किला थियो, यो गढ। त्यस कारणले सिम्बलगढ भनेर अपभ्रंश भई आएर सिमरौनगढ भन्यो। यसको सिमरौनगढको सिम्बलगढको अपभ्रंश हो यो सिमरौनगढ।
कुनै समय एक सुरक्षित र सम्पन्न राजधानी रहेको सिमरौनगढ दरबारलाई बलिया अग्ला चक्रव्यूह आकारका पर्खालले घेरिएको थियो। तत्कालीन राजा वीरेन्द्रबाट यस क्षेत्रको अवलोकन पश्चात पुरातत्व विभाग र इटालियन सरकारको तत्वावधानमा सिमरौनगढको उत्खनन गरियो। उत्खननका क्रममा कर्णाट कालका पुरातात्विक, धार्मिक, सांस्कृतिक अवशेषहरू फेला पर्यो। सिमरौनगढका पुराना अवशेषहरू आज पनि यत्रतत्र पाइन्छ। यहाँ डढेको चामल, माटोका भाँडा बर्तन, गरगहनाहरू पाइन्छ।
यहाँको धार्मिक इतिहास र पुरातत्व विभागको त सबै संरक्षण छँदैछ। यो मन्दिर छ, पुरानो मूर्ति छ, दहीको चावल पाइन्छ, कङ्गन कालीको स्थान छ, तलेजु भवानीको अहिले शिलाको बाकस राखेका छ, त्यो पनि छँदैछ। चारैतिर सुन बिखरेको पनि पाइन्छ। यो सबै पाइँदाखेरि त पुरातत्व भएन।
यस क्षेत्रको कचरवा गाउँमा माकराकृतिको टुटी भएको धारो, हरिपुर गाविसमा रहेको ढुङ्गाको बाकस निकै रहस्यमय छ। जति खन्दै जाँदा झन भित्र भासिनु यस बाकसको विशेषता हो। अत्यन्त कलात्मक रहेको यो बाकसको बाहिरी भाग मात्रै देखिन्छ, बाँकी भाग जमिनमा गाडिएको छ। स्थानीयले यसलाई बाकस, तिजोरी, सन्दुक भने पनि वास्तवमा यो के हो अहिलेसम्म पत्ता लाग्न सकेको छैन।
वो जमाना के शिवाजी महाराज के दरबार के तिजोरी है, पत्थर हो, रात उल्टन हो गए, पत्थर हो गए, ताला कुंडी सब बंद बा, में ताला बात कुंडी बा सब सहित बा।
बाकसको नजिकै खम्बा आकारको कालो ढुङ्गा छ। खम्बा सामान्य देखिए पनि 10-15 जना मिलेर पनि यसलाई टसमस समेत गर्न सक्दैनन्। ढुङ्गाको खम्बा झन रहस्यमय छ। स्थानीयका अनुसार यस खम्बालाई बाहिर निकाल्न खोज्दा यो झन जमिनमा भासिने गर्दछ। यो क्षेत्रमा बाढी आए पनि यो खम्बा डुब्दैन। यस प्रकार सिमरनगढ क्षेत्र पुरातात्विक दृष्टिकोणले समेत महत्त्वपूर्ण छ। सिमरनगढको सांस्कृतिक सम्पदाको दोस्रो स्थानमा यहाँका मन्दिरहरूलाई लिन सकिन्छ। सिमरनगढको बीच भागमा स्थापना गरिएको कंकाली मन्दिर ईटद्वारा निर्माण गरिएको शिखर शैलीमा छ। मन्दिर चारैतिर चतुष्कोणाकारको भवनको बीचमा शिखर उठेर माथिसम्म चुलिएको छ। मन्दिरको चारैतिर खुल्ला गुम्बजाकारको प्रवेशद्वार निर्माण गरिएको छ। मन्दिरमा रहेका कंकालीको मूर्ति कालो प्रस्तरमा कुँदिएको छ। मूर्तिको गोलाकार अनुहार, ठूला आँखा, पुष्ट छातीले त्यस बेलाको विशेषतालाई दर्शाउँछ। देवीको गालामा हार, कानमा गोलाकार कुण्डल, कम्मरमा हार जडेको च्याप्टो पेटी छ। शान्त सौम्य मुद्रामा रहेको यो मूर्तिले कलामा छुट्टै स्थान ओगटेको छ।
यो सिमरनगढ भनेको कंकाली स्थान जो कि दुनियाँको सबभन्दा शक्तिपीठ राम्रो जहाँ बलि नै चढ्दैन। यो फेरि कंकालीमा सबै शक्तिपीठमा बलि चढ्छ तर कंकालीमा स्थानमा बलि चढ्दैन। त्यस्तो विशाल मन्दिर अनि यस्तो विशाल मन्दिर राम जानकीको मन्दिर यहाँ दुईटा छ। अनि यसको अलावा पनि यहाँ नानदेवले यानि कि 1097 ईस्वीमा सिमरनगढलाई राजधानी बनाएको यो नानदेव हो। नानदेवको 7औं पुस्ता जगह त्यसमा हरसिंहदेव, गङदेव, रामदेव सबै 7औं पुस्ता हो। अन्तिम पुस्ता चाहिँ हरसिंहदेव हो। हरसिंहदेवको पालामा ग्यासुद्दिन तुगलकले यहाँ आक्रमण गरेर सबै ध्वस्त पारिदिएको थियो। यस्तो यस्तो पूर्वाधारहरू छ। तैपनि हाम्रो सिमरनगढमा कसैको नजर छैन। यहाँ त म भन्छु कि यसलाई विश्व सम्पदा सूचीमा राख्यो भने सबभन्दा राम्रो हुन्छ। यहाँको नेताहरूले यसै माध्यममा भन्छु कि सिमरनगढलाई विश्व सम्पदा सूचीमा राख्नु जरुरी छ।
यहाँ रामनवमीको दिन ठूलो मेला लाग्ने गर्दछ। सामान्य रूपमा भक्तजनहरू आउने क्रम दिनहुँ नै रहन्छ। अहिले पनि यो क्षेत्रमा कंकाली माताको ठूलो महिमा छ भनिन्छ। त्यसै गरी चिताएको फल देवीले पूरा गर्छिन् भन्ने जनविश्वास समेत रहेको छ।
पहिलादेखि अहिले यो सालमा धेरै पर्यटक म 2-4 यो कामको सिलसिलामा बसेको थियो। शनिबारको दिनौ 1000 देखि 1500 मान्छे बाहिरबाट आउँछ। अब त्यसको लागि पनि हामी व्यवस्थापन गरिराखेका छौँ। त्यहाँ एउटा पूजा अर्चना गर्नको लागि बेलुका बिहानै आरती, जस्तै हरिद्वारमा तपाईँ गयो सक्नुहोला भले हेर्नु होला, बिहानै र बेलुका गङ्गाको आरती हुन्छ। त्यहाँ पनि कंकाली मन्दिरमा हामी आरतीको एउटा छिटै व्यवस्था गर्छौँ। अहिले त्यो 2टा बोट पनि राखेका छौँ। मान्छेहरू पर्यटक आउँछ भने त्यसलाई घुम्नको लागि, त्यो पानीमा विहार गर्नको लागि, राम्रो वातावरणको लागि आउँदो दिनमा एउटा स्टिमर किनेर त्यहाँ राख्ने हामी पनि प्लानिङ गरेका छौँ।
कंकाली मन्दिर प्राङ्गणमा विभिन्न देवी देवताका अन्य मन्दिरहरू पनि रहेका छन्। प्राङ्गणमा रहेका मानसाराम बाबाको मन्दिर 3 मिटर उचाइ र 5.47 मिटरको चतुर्कोणाकारमा निर्माण गरिएको छ। मन्दिरभित्र मानसाराम बाबाको समाधि स्थल छ। समाधि अगाडि एक जोर खराउ छ, जसलाई मानसा बाबाको खराउ भनी पूजा गरिन्छ। प्राङ्गणमा शिव, पार्वती, हनुमान, विष्णु, विश्वकर्माको मन्दिर रहेका छन्।
कंकाली मन्दिर त धेरै पुरानो इतिहास बोकेको मन्दिर हो। त्यो मन्दिरको प्राङ्गणमा तपाईको कंकाली मन्दिर, मनसा बाबा मन्दिर, तपाईको विष्णु मन्दिर, तपाईको यो धेरै मन्दिरहरू छन्।
कंकाली मन्दिरदेखि करिब 1.5 माइलको पश्चिम दूरीमा रहेको छ रानीवास, जहाँ राम जानकीको मन्दिर छ। जंगबहादुर राणाका छोरा जीतजंगले विक्रम सम्मत 1935मा आमा हिरण्य कुमारी सती जाने बेलामा व्यक्त गरेको इच्छा बमोजिम यो मन्दिरको निर्माण भएको थियो, जुन यहाँको घण्टामा समेत उल्लेख छ। मूल मन्दिर भने 3 तहको पेटीमाथि बनेको छ। मन्दिरभित्र राम, सीता र लक्ष्मणका धातुका प्रतिमाहरू प्रतिष्ठापित छन्। अगाडि जंगबहादुर, हिरण्य कुमारी लगायत परिवारका सदस्यहरूको प्रतिमा रहेका छन्।
पहिला 2224 को बेलादेखि यहाँ राजा शिवसिंहको पालीमा यो राम जानकी मन्दिर थियो र त्यसपछि नानदेवजी पनि आउनुभयो, त्यो उहाँको पालीमा पनि यहाँ राम जानकी मन्दिर र हाम्रो जंगबहादुर महाराजज्यू 1838 मा आएर हे भन्दा न उहाँ त अग्लो मन्दिर काठको नै बनाउनु भयो, त्यो प्रमाणै छ, आजसम्म इटमा लेखेर राखेको छ। र त्यसपछि 1935 मा हाम्रो जंगबहादुरको कान्छो छोरो जितजङ भनेर उहाँले नै बनाउनु भएको छ। उहाँको शिला यो जंगबहादुर महाराजको, उहाँको पत्नी, 2टा छोरी र एउटा कान्छो छोरो।
जंग बहादुर पहिले यहाँ शिकार खेल्न आउनुहुन्थ्यो। और शिकार खेल्दा खेल्दै यहाँ एउटा बासको रूपमा पनि शिकार खेल्ने, यहाँ बास बस्ने, अनि फेरि जाने, फेरि बास बस्ने, शिकार खेल्ने। अब यहाँबाट जाँदाखेरि पत्रहट्टामा उहाँको मृत्यु भयो जंग बहादुरको। अनि छोरो थियो जगतजंग, अब त्यसको बुवाको नाउँमा पनि यो मन्दिर निर्माण गरिदियो। यो मन्दिर विशाल मन्दिर त्यो उनको छोरोले बनाएको।
मन्दिरको प्राङ्गण वरिपरि 2 तल्लामा चतुष्कोणाकारका धर्मशाला बनेका छन्। मन्दिर निर्माणमा त्यहाँका भग्नावशेषहरू प्रयोग भएको छ। समय समयमा प्राप्त भएको मूर्तिले सिमरनगढको महत्वलाई झन बढाएको छ। यहाँका मूर्तिकलाका रचनाहरूले सिमरनगढको सांस्कृतिक समृद्धिलाई पुष्टि गर्दछ। यहाँको मूर्तिकलाले आर्थिक रूपले समृद्ध यो राज्यमा कला र साहित्यले भरपूर उन्नति गर्ने मौका पाएको स्पष्ट हुन्छ। केही वर्ष अगाडि पुरातत्व विभागको सक्रियतामा कंकाली मन्दिर परिसरका मूर्तिहरूलाई मन्दिर परिसरमै घर बनाई संग्रहित गरिएको छ। त्यसै गरी सिमरनगढका केही मूर्ति र दरबारका अवशेषलाई राष्ट्रिय संग्रहालय छाउनीमा संग्रहित गरिएको छ। सिमरनगढको तोरणद्वारको टुक्रा संग्रहालयको भित्री गेटमै राखिएको छ। यस क्षेत्रमा अनेकन पोखरी र इनारहरू रहेका छन्, जसमध्ये इसरा, झरौखरा, राजाबादा, मनहरवा, आमवा, हथाइया प्रमुख छन्। इसारा पोखरी कंकाली मन्दिरको अगाडि छ। यो पोखरीको नाम राजा शिवसिंहकी रानी इसाराको नामबाट राखिएको छ। रानीवास मन्दिरको 1 किलोमिटर दूरीमा दक्षिणतर्फ खजहनी गाउँ छ। कर्नाट वंशी राजाहरूले खजाना राख्ने ठाउँ भएकाले यस ठाउँको नाम खजहनी भएको जनविश्वास छ। सो ठाउँमा अहिले पनि खेत, कुलो, माछा पोखरी खन्ने क्रममा पुरातात्विक वस्तु तथा मूर्ति भेट्न सकिन्छ। शान्ति, ऐश्वर्य र करुणाले धपक्क बलेको अलौकिक भाव र मुस्कानयुक्त चिल्ला काला ढुङ्गामा कुँदिएका मूर्तिहरूले यहाँको कलाको स्वतन्त्र र मौलिक शैलीलाई प्रस्तुत गर्दछ। मूर्तिमा पाइने आवरण र आभूषणले त छन् भक्ति रस र सौन्दर्य रस प्रदान गराउन सफल छ। मूर्तिहरूमा भाव अभिव्यक्तिको जुन मार्मिकता प्रदर्शित छ त्यसको जति प्रशंसा गरे पनि पूर्ण हुँदैन। अथाह पर्यटकीय सम्भावना बोकेको ऐतिहासिक र धार्मिक धरोहर सिम्रौनगढ दरबारसम्म पुग्नका लागि जनप्रतिनिधिहरू निर्वाचित भएर आएसँगै बाटोको सहज व्यवस्था भएको छ। सडक सुविधाका लागि नगरले पहल गरेसँगै आगन्तुकलाई केही सहज भएको छ।
मन्दिरको फुटपाथ निर्माण गरिराखेका छ। मन्दिरको फुटपाथ निर्माणमा तपाईको ब्लक लगाएर त्यो सौन्दर्यीकरण मन्दिरको भविष्य बाहिरबाट जुन पर्यटक आउँछ त्यो राम्रो कसरी हेर्न सकिन्छ, त्यसको आउने जाने केही कठिनाई हुँदैन। त्यहाँ बस्नको लागि आउने जाने हेर्नको लागि त्यो कंकाली मन्दिरमा गरिराखेका छ।
सिम्रौनगढका बारेमा अहिलेसम्म स्वदेशी र विदेशी पुरातत्वविदद्वारा धेरै अनुसन्धान भएका छन्। यी अनुसन्धानहरूले सिम्रौनगढ कुनै बेला दक्षिण एसियाका समुन्नत राज्यहरू मध्येको एक राज्य तिरहुतको राजधानी रहेको प्रमाणित भइसकेको छ। तर उत्खनन हुन बाँकी नै रहेकाले तत्कालीन राजधानी सिम्रौनगढका राजाहरूले राखेका आधिकारिक अभिलेख फेला पर्न सकेका छैनन्। तर उनीहरूका पालामा बनेका पोखरी, मूर्ति, कंकालिनी मन्दिर, रानीवास दरबार लगायतका सामग्रीहरू अहिले पनि साक्षीको रूपमा रहेका छन्। यहाँ टाढा टाढाबाट बास बस्न आउने पर्यटकहरूका लागि भने राम्रो होटल अथवा आवास गृहको अभाव छ। सुविधा सम्पन्न होटल, होमस्टे निर्माणका लागि सिम्रौनगढ उद्योग वाणिज्य संघले आवश्यक पहल गरिरहेको छ।
त्यो बस्नको लागि त अहिले तत्काल 2वटा होटल छ, अरू पनि बनाउनको लागि सोचिरहेछ यहाँको व्यापारीहरूले, बनाउँछ भविष्यमा पनि। अनि यहाँ एउटा के छ हजुर कि हाम्रो सिम्रौनगढमा भारतबाट मेन आउने चाहिँ भारतबाट नै हो बढी पर्यटक। त्यसको लागि पहिला यहाँ छोटी भन्सार थिएन, भर्खर हामी यो 1 महिना जति पहिला सञ्चालन गराएछौँ। तर सरकारसँग पनि पहल गरेका छौँ कि कम्तीमा यहाँ मूल भन्सार होस्। मूल भन्सार भइदिएको भए गाडीको आवत जावत अनि चाहे इन्ट्री गरेर होस् भन्सार गरेर होस् त्यो हिसाबले पनि यहाँ आउँछ। सरकारले पनि राजस्व उठ्छ त्यसबाट, अनि देशको आम्दानी पुँजी हुन्छ, हाम्रो सिम्रौनगढको पनि विकास हुन्छ, अनि पर्यटकहरू पनि बढी यहाँ आवत जावत गर्छ।
यस क्षेत्रको संरक्षण र प्रवर्धनका निम्ति बृहत योजनाको आवश्यकता देखिन्छ। कला संस्कृतिको अंकुत भण्डारको रूपमा रहेको यस क्षेत्रको उत्खनन र न्यायोचित मूल्याङ्कन नगरिएसम्म नेपालको कलाकृतिको इतिहासको खोजी अधुरो नै रहने प्रश्न छ, जसका लागि गुठी संस्थान, पुरातत्व विभाग जस्ता निकायहरूको भूमिका महत्वपूर्ण रहन सक्छ।
सिम्रौनगढ उद्योग वाणिज्य संघबाट पनि यसमा देशमा अनि पर्यटक मन्त्रालयमा पनि हामी पठाएछौँ कि यहाँ जसरी भए पनि यहाँको पहिला हाम्रो सिम्रौनगढमा सबै सम्पदा छँदैछ, तर तिनीहरू लोप हुँदैछ। त्यसको लागि हामी पर्यटक मन्त्रालयमा, अर्थ मन्त्रालयमा पटक पटक बारम्बार चाहिँ हामी आफ्नो लिखित रूपमा पत्रहरू पठाएछौँ कि सरकारबाट पहल होस्, यसलाई जसरी जे जस्तो छ त्यसले व्यवस्थित गरोस् अनि राम्रो हेर्न भइदिएको भए पर्यटकहरू त्यहाँ आफै आउँछ नि। त्यसको लागि हामी उद्योग वाणिज्य संघबाट धेरै पहल पनि गरेका छौँ। पहल फेरि गर्नको लागि अनि एउटा टिम बनाएर हामी सोचिरहेछौँ कि यसको लागि एकचोटि माथि केन्द्रमा काठमाडौँ गएर एकचोटि पर्यटन मन्त्रालयमा गएर बसेर यसको कुरा राखेर अर्थमन्त्री कहाँ पनि जाओस्, प्रधानमन्त्री कहाँ पनि जाओस्, उहाँहरूको ध्यान हो यो सिम्रौनगढको पर्यटक स्थल कसरी राम्रोसँग यो यसको विकास होस् भनेर हामी पहल पनि गर्दैछौँ। हजुर
मंदिर के हमनी के निर्वास सिमरावनगढ़ कंकाली अस्थाना उ सब जगह के हमनी के अच्छा विकास, अच्छा सुंदर देखे के चाहतनी। काहे तो मंदिर मैठबा इतना दिन से अभी नहीं सही बनी। आ कंकाली आस्थाना के हमनी के नेपाल के शान है। हमनी के नेपाल के शान के हमनी के अच्छा से आवरी स्वर्ग बनाई आ ये से आवरी सुंदर विकास करी।
ऐतिहासिक, सांस्कृतिक र पुरातात्विक महत्व बोकेको सिम्रौनगढको संरक्षण र प्रवर्धन पक्ष केही कमजोर भने अवश्य छ। तर समग्र मिथिलाको कला संस्कृतिको परिचय दिन सफल यहाँका पुरातात्विक सम्पदाहरू संरक्षणका लागि मध्य प्रदेश सरकारले रकम नै विनियोजन गरेर काम सुरु गरेको छ। बृहत गाउँ पर्यटनको सम्भावना बोकेको यस क्षेत्रको बहुमूल्य वस्तुलाई साँच्चै मूल्यवान बनाउन प्रदेश सरकार लागि परेको छ। मर्मत सम्हारको अभावमा मन्दिर जीर्ण बन्दै गइरहेका बेला प्रदेश सरकारले गरेको यो पहल र प्रयास साँच्चै प्रशंसनीय छ। मानव अतीतलाई छातीमा समेटेर ऐतिहासिक धरोहरलाई सुरक्षित राख्न सफल सिम्रौनगढ दरबार घुमौं, मधेस चिनाऊ।
For centuries, the Kumail community of Nepal has lived closely tied to the earth, shaping clay, cultivating land, and sustaining a cultural identity rooted in indigenous skill, craft, and tradition. Recognized as one of Nepal's marginalized indigenous nationalities, the Kumails traditionally settle in the hilly regions and inner Tarai plains. Cultural practices and oral histories indicate that they have been part of Nepal's civilization since ancient times. As inhabitants of Nepal's fertile river valleys and plains, the Kumals have carried forward a deep-rooted tradition of earthenware craftsmanship, agriculture, and a rich cultural heritage that reflects centuries of resilience and adaptation. Their pottery has been more than household utility. It has been a marker of identity, livelihood, and cultural continuity. Today, as modern vessels replace handmade earthen vessels, the Kumals find themselves preserving not only a profession but a heritage passed down through generations. According to an ancient belief, clay work began at the time of creation when Prajapati, the son of Brahma, molded the first earthen vessel using Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Vishnu. The Sanskrit term Kumbhakar, meaning pot maker, gradually transformed, becoming Kumhar and eventually Kumal. Even today, pottery remains spiritually and culturally significant for the community. In Kumal settlements, soil is not just the ground beneath their feet. It is raw material, cultural memory, and a symbol of survival. The Kumal population is spread mainly across central Tarai districts of Nepal, namely across Lumbini, Gandaki, and Bagmati provinces. Traditionally, they rely on two main occupations, agriculture and pottery. Farms provided daily sustenance, while pottery supported household needs and served as a source of income. Community life historically revolved around extended family systems, with shared labor, collective participation in rituals, and a strong sense of belonging to ancestral land. Pottery for the Kumals is a detailed, multi-stage skill passed down through generations. The process begins with identifying the right soil. Black clay, the Kalo Matu, was traditionally preferred for its strength and texture. It was collected near riverbanks, ponds, and settled waterbeds. Among Tharu Kumals, this clay is also known as Kamaune Matu, meaning clay that earns. Clay is soaked, softened, and thoroughly kneaded. Using a tool called pasur, potters slice and cleanse the clay to remove impurities. In earlier times, bamboo tools were used instead of iron. The prepared clay is stored covered, maintaining moisture for shaping. The chakra or potter's wheel remains central to Kumal identity. Hands center the clay, fingers guide it, and experience shapes it. Tools like thap and pitani help refine form and smooth surface. Large vessels, water jars, grand pots, cooking pots, and ritual vessels were once part of every Nepali household, each bearing the touch of Kumal craftsmanship. Freshly formed pots are cut from the wheel with thread or leaf strips and set to dry, first in shade to prevent cracks, then under the sun. A reddish clay called Kabish Matu is applied for finish and strength. The firing structure, Awa or Auri, is built from wood, straw, husk, and cow dung. Pots are stacked carefully, forming a dome-like structure covered with hay and soil. The firing process takes up to 3 days. The Kumals maintain rich intangible heritage through customs, rituals, music, and dance. The Keli dance is one of the most distinctive cultural expressions of the Kumals. Traditionally performed by men dressed as women, it is associated with community celebrations and spiritual belief. The performance concludes with blessings for the household hosting the event. Marriage traditionally takes place within the community, though intercaste marriage, particularly with Magar communities, has become common.
आधा नेन बुढी चिउरा दाडी पोक्कै नेन बुढी चिउरा पोक्कैले बुढी चिउरा पुरै
Samdi fight is also popular in this culture, where fathers of bride and groom go through a physical battle as a part of entertainment. A child's naming ceremony called Nwaran takes place on the 9th day for daughters and 11th day for sons, where a young unmarried girl narrates the name referred by the priest. Gon Ponni, a ritual where the mother burns bedding used during childbirth, is followed by baths. The child is then named and welcomed.
बोलाउने नाम आशिष कुमाल, देवताको नाम गोविन्द कुमाल, मेरो नाम सन्तोष कुमाल.
Grandmothers carry babies around the home, chasing the newborn with a catapult, symbolically granting strength and sealing belonging.
केही नभए नराइदे
That rites emphasize purity, remembrance, and respect. The eldest son, or the one performing final rites, often standing inside a fishing net, performs final rites reflecting links to water-based livelihood and spiritual symbolism. Among the many Kumal rituals, ancestral worship, Kul Puja is considered the most important. It is performed in remembrance of those deceased in the family and is also known as Pitri Puja. The Kul Puja honors ancestors annually, while the worship of Singh Devata, urn-shaped forest deities, highlights ties to nature and livestock protection. The Kumal people speak their own indigenous language, Kumal, which belongs to the Tibeto-Burman family. However, due to increasing influence of Nepali language and modernization, the use of Kumal language has been declining, and community efforts continue to revive it through cultural programs and schools. Most Kumals practice Hinduism, worshipping deities such as Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and local protective gods and goddesses. Ancestral worship and belief in nature, spirits hold deep cultural importance. Traditional attire for men includes white clothing and the dhaka topi, while women wear black blouses, traditional skirts and red shawls often adorned with local jewelry. With industrial materials such as aluminum, steel and plastic replacing clay vessels, the demand for traditional pottery has sharply declined. Many Kumal families have moved to agriculture, labor, service work or small businesses. Modern education and new employment opportunities are reshaping the choices of younger generations. Their hands do not merely shape clay, they sculpt culture, memory, and the foundation of Nepal's artistic soul. The Kumal community stands at a historic crossroads between tradition and modernity, memory and transition. Their identity is closely tied to clay, yet their future relies on adapting to changing socio-economic landscapes. Their story is not only about pottery, but resilience of a people who shaped Nepal's cultural foundation long before industry and technology. The preservation of Kumal heritage is not a matter of nostalgia. It is a recognition of indigenous knowledge, cultural diversity, and history shaped by hands that turn earth into life. If the story of Nepal is one of civilizations formed by soil and river, then the Kumal legacy will always remain at its foundation.
Nepal's upcoming elections spark economic surge, election spending to boost market activity beyond 120 billion rupees. Pashupatinath Temple in Kathmandu gears up for Mahashivaratri festival. Saints and devotees from Nepal and abroad arrive at the temple. Valentine's Day being celebrated, expressing love and joy. They also see surge in sales of flowers like roses. World leaders gather in Munich for second day of security conference. UK PM Starmer says Europe must stand on own 2 feet. Bangladesh PM in waiting. Rahman appeals for unity as BNP sweeps polls. Interim leader Yunus prepares to hand over power to elected government. And Nepal gears up for its 30-20 World Cup 2026 match to held tomorrow to face West Indies. Good evening, I'm Suveksha Rajak and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming up to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. Nepal is all geared up for the March 5 polls, which are expected to boost the economy, generating over 120 billion rupees, equivalent to $9.24 billion US in market activity. Increased campaign spending, rallies, transportation use and advertising are boosting income for printing presses, media houses and transport businesses. This rise in election-related spending is increasing cash flow and consumer demand, creating short-term economic expansion. Economists warn that without matching increases in production, the surge in spending could spur inflation and strain government budgets, while foreign investors may remain cautious. We have more on this in our Issue of the Day segment later in the bulletin. Now, preparations have completed at Kathmandu's Pashupatinath temple, with thousands of saints and devotees gathering from across Nepal and around the world. This year, Mahashivaratri falls tomorrow. The Pashupati Area Development Trust estimates that at least 800,000 devotees and around 4,000 sadhus and are expected to visit Pashupatinath temple for worship during the festival. It is learned all 4 doors of the Pashupatinath temple will open at 2 a.m. to accommodate the high volume of devotees. Meanwhile, Nepal's Chief of Army Staff Ashok Raj Sigdel has issued special instructions to ensure the peaceful conduct of the upcoming House of Representatives election. Sigdel, while speaking at the special program held today at the Army headquarters on the eve of Mahashivaratri and 262nd Army Day, emphasized the Army continues to fulfill its responsibilities across various sectors with excellence. Today marks Valentine's Day, a special occasion celebrated around the world to honor love, affection and devotion between partners, friends and families. It is a day when people express their feelings through gifts, gestures and heartfelt messages, celebrating the bonds that connect them. Popular especially among young men and women, the tradition of exchanging gifts such as flowers, cards and chocolates and expressing one's feeling is growing on this day. With the influence of social media, the style of celebrating Valentine's Day also appears to becoming more modern and attractive. We have more on this later in the bulletin in our segment Cover Story. Now, the 62nd Munich Security Conference is underway at Munich, Germany from Friday to Sunday, convening more than 60 heads of state and government, 50 leaders of international organizations and participants from at least 115 countries. The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said Europe must stand on our own 2 feet, while also announces that the UK will send a fleet of warships and fighter jets to the Arctic in 2026. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said European unity is the best interceptor against Russian aggression, but accused the US of focusing on Ukrainian concessions, not Russian ones. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, meanwhile, that the US and Europe belong together, but is critical of NATO as well as measures taken on climate change and migration. Bangladesh Prime Minister in waiting Tariq Rahman has appealed for unity in the country and dedicated his sweeping win those who sacrificed for democracy as his Bangladesh Nationalist Party BNP won with a thumping majority in the recently concluded parliamentary elections. The BNP alliance won 212 seats out of the 299 parliamentary seats, compared with 77 for the Jamaat-e-Islami alliance, according to Electoral Commission. The National Citizen Party, led by youth activists who played a key role in topping Sheikh Hasina and part of a Jamaat-led alliance, won just 6 of the 30 seats it contested. Meanwhile, Bangladesh interim leader Muhammad Yunus congratulated Rahman for the landslide victory of his party as he prepared to step down and hand over power to an elected government. Now, the Nepal national cricket team is preparing for its third match in the ICC T20 World Cup 2026 in Mumbai. After completing their game against Italy, the team intensified practice sessions ahead of tomorrow's match against a strong opponent, the West Indies cricket team. Coaches and players are focusing on refining strategies and strengthening team performance to compete effectively against the Caribbean side. Tomorrow also promises another most awaited match as India faces Pakistan, a fixture widely regarded as one of the most anticipated and high-pressure encounters in world cricket history. As elections energize the economy with billions in transactions, they also raise questions about sustainability and long-term growth. Coming up next, our issue of the day takes a closer look at the challenges and opportunities shaping Nepal's future. But before that, let's take a short break. Welcome back. You are watching NTV World News Hour. As Nepal gears up for March 5 elections, the Election Commission of Nepal has made significant progress in printing ballot papers across the country. So far, ballots have been printed for 142 electoral constituencies spanning 66 districts with a total of 18.23 million ballots already completed. Printing is taking place at the Janak Education Materials Center in Bhaktapur, Sanotimi, with around 1.5 million ballots produced daily, while 20.83 million ballots for proportional representation have already been printed. The first past the post system still requires the printing of 20.32 million ballots. The next phase involves printing ballots for 23 constituencies in 11 districts around Kathmandu Valley, with completion expected within next few days. The Election Commission also has mandated that political parties and candidates must open separate bank accounts for election expenses and submit the details to the Commission in order to make election spending transparent. Out total of 3,406 candidates, including political parties and independents, on 454 candidates and 4 political parties have informed the Commission about opening separate bank accounts as of Friday. This shows while candidates have pledged to voters to eliminate corruption, promote transparency and implement reforms, many of those same candidates are found to be hesitant to follow those principles themselves. Economists estimate this year's polls could generate over 120 billion Nepali rupees in economic activity. Elections are considered a major driver of economic activity and not limited to political celebration. As market cash flow is bound to rise during elections, it is expected to positively impacting the overall country and economy. Vijeta Bhandari along with Kamala Aryal brings more.
Economy is an important part of elections. Elections affect not only political activities but also various sectors of the country. Economists believe that House of Representatives election on March 5 will help energize the overall economy. Specifically, elections influence the economy in 3 phases: before candidate registration, during the election process, and after the elections. Campaigns by candidates, rallies, transportation, and advertising lead to to a significant increase in income for printing presses, media houses, and transportation businesses. This, in turn, increases demand for consumer goods and injects liquidity into the market, which economists view as a short-term economic expansion. Given that banks currently hold substantial deposits and rural areas have a slow income-generating environment, elections provide additional momentum to economic activity, helping to stimulate the economy. It is estimated that economic transactions during this election will exceed 120 billion Nepali rupees. Economists also say that if a stable government is formed after the elections, it will boost private sector confidence and lay the foundation for a long-term economic growth.
एउटा त्यो चुनावको प्रक्रियाको बेलामा एउटा चाहिँ चुनाव सकिएपछि तीन तहको तीन प्रकारका आर्थिक गतिविधिले प्रभाव पार्छ र मुख्य रूपमा नेपालमा खास गरी चाहिँ चुनावले के गर्छ भन्दा चाहिँ यो आयातमा आधारित त्यो पनि खर्चमा आधारित हाम्रो अर्थ संरचना भएको हुनाले के हुन्छ भन्दा खर्च पहिला भइरहेको खर्च भन्दा बढी खर्च भएको कारणले मुद्रास्फीतिमा बढी प्रेसर दिने भयो आयातित वस्तुहरूको पनि वस्तु तथा सेवाहरू महँगा हुने भए अनि हर कुरा चाहिँ माथि चाप पार्ने भएले चाहिँ बढी माग भएको कारणले
Economists also caution that elections may have not only positive but also negative effects on the economy. If the government is unable to increase production and development activities are slow, merely increasing money supply in the market could lead to inflation.
नकारात्मक भनेको कहिले-कहिले चाहिँ फोकस आउट हुन्छ हुनुपर्ने सरकारको ध्यान एकातिर छ अनि ध्यान अर्कोतिर पुगेको हुनाले यो विकास निर्माणका कामदेखि केही पुँजीगत लगानीहरुमा चाहिँ अलि अनदेखा भएको हुन सक्छ.
Furthermore, the high expenditures from the state treasury on security and preparations for elections may create pressure on public debt and the budget deficit. Foreign investors may remain cautious and adopt a wait-and-see approach, which could hinder long-term economic growth.
From Lalitpur's senior couples redefining Valentine's Day to the broader issues shaping our nation, the spotlight now turns from celebration to reflection. After this break, our cover story examines the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead of Nepal's society and economy. Welcome back. You are watching NTV World News Hour. Love is often seen as the language of the young, but in Nepal's Lalitpur, it was the elderly who showed the world how timeless romance can truly be. On Valentine's Day, senior couples took the dance floor, proving that love only grows stronger with age. Here's a heartwarming report on a celebration that redefined what February 14 is all about.
Love transcends age, and in Nepal, the celebration of love is no longer just for the young. It is for the young at heart. On Valentine's Day, observed around the world every February 14 as a celebration of romance and affection, the historic city of Lalitpur in Nepal's Kathmandu Valley witnessed a heartwarming scene. Instead of candlelight dinners for young couples, it was senior citizens aged 60 and above who took to the dance floor, smiling, laughing, and celebrating decades of companionship. The event brought together elderly couples who have spent a lifetime building families and communities. Many held hands as they danced, others exchanged flowers and warm embraces, proving that love deepens with time. In a society where older generations are deeply respected, the celebration carried a powerful message. Affection and appreciation should not fade with age. The program was organized by the Academy of Culinary Arts Management with a special purpose to honor senior citizens and strengthen intergenerational harmony in Nepali society.
विगतमा चाहिँ यसपालि पनि यो ज्येष्ठ नागरिकहरूको चाहिँ एउटा भ्यालेन्टाइनको आयोजना गरेको छौं जहाँ चाहिँ कि 60 प्लस तर स्टिल रोमान्सिङ भन्ने एउटा टिममा र यसको मूलभूत उसको उद्देश्य भनेको चाहिँ प्रत्येक जोडीको कुनै न कुनै समयमा भरपूर माया हुन्छ, तर जीवनकालमा जीवनलाई जिउने क्रममा आफ्नो बच्चा हुर्काउँदै गर्दाखेरि काम गरेर जाँदाखेरि त्यो माया चाहिँ बिर्सिरहेको हुँदो रहेछ कि धेरैजनाको चाहिँ, र त्यो मायालाई एकचोटि फेरि पुनः जागरण गर्ने उद्देश्यले चाहिँ हामीले यो कार्यक्रम आयोजना गरेको हौँ।
Participants said the event made them feel remembered and valued at a stage in life when celebrations are often rare.
रमाइलो लाग्छ अब यस्तो उत्सव जस्तो हैन मनाउन पाएर हैन अब बुढाबुढीले पनि मनाउनु पर्छ अब आफ्नो चाहिँ रमाउनको लागि पनि हैन एक आपसमा रमाउनलाई पनि चाहिन्छ।
Nepal, a country known for its strong family bonds and cultural traditions, is seeing a growing awareness about the well-being and dignity of senior citizens. Events like this not only spread joy, but also send a broader message that love is timeless, gratitude matters, and every generation deserves to be celebrated. Because in the end, love is not measured in years, but in the moments shared at every age.
If you are holding a bouquet today, you are part of a record-breaking economic surge. Forget pocket change. Love is officially a multi-billion-dollar industry this year. Our colleague Sarah Sapsanamarai breaks down the business behind the bloom.
Love may be priceless, but expressing it is hitting new highs. According to National Retail Federation, total Valentine's spending is projected to reach a record $29.1 billion this year, with the average person shelling out nearly $200 to celebrate. At the heart of the frenzy is the red rose. Global production topped 250 million stems for this single day, a massive logistical feat dominated by the big three: Ecuador, Colombia and Kenya. These nations supply nearly 80% of the world's Valentine's roses. But that romantic gesture comes with a sticker shock in 2026. Due to rising labor costs and new tariffs, a dozen roses now average about $90, a significant jump from last year. In the US alone, floral arrangements account for over $3 billion of the holidays budget. Back home in Nepal, the business of love is blooming despite the winter chill, with an estimated demand for about 450,000 rose sticks this week alone. However, since local production struggles in the February cold, the Floriculture Association of Nepal says nearly 70% of these flowers, valued at over 56 million rupees, are imported from India to fill the gap. Consumers are feeling the pinch as prices in Kathmandu Valley have surged to 150 rupees per stem, driven by a 15% global rise in labor and transport costs. Despite the price hike, the data shows the tradition is thorny but essential, with 41% of consumers saying flowers remain their top gift choice for Valentine's Day.
Roses remain the timeless symbol of love, driving a notable increase in demand significantly during Valentine's Day. To know more on surge of sale of flowers like roses in Nepali markets during special occasions, we earlier spoke to the president of the Floriculture Association of Nepal, Mr. Rajesh Bhakta Shrestha. Welcome to NTV World Primetime News.
Thank you.
How important is Valentine's Day for the flower business in Nepal?
Well, it's playing a great role for promotion of flower culture in Nepal, which obviously affecting the floriculture business overall. So we see it as a very important the culture that is developing in Nepal.
What is the rose business like in Nepal during Valentine's week?
Well, it's currently we as per our study, we think it's about around 500,000 stem of roses sales during this week, worth of around 7 crores per week during this whole week. So that is a very important business turnover for this week only. So that is how we see it, and every year it's increasing by at least 10 to 15%.
So is the rose production sufficient in Nepal?
At the moment, the production is around, it means the local production meets around 30% of the demand during this Valentine's week. 70% still we are dependent on the import. So we are trying our best to meet the demand, but we are struggling. Basically, we are struggling to meet it. And because of the season also, so this is not quite a good season for production, because it's a cold season, and the season also affects on the production quantity. So that's really, it's been hard for us to meet the total demand during this week, during Valentine's week.
So, Mr. Shrestha, what support do Nepali flower farmers need from the government?
Well, the most importantly, we need a support from the government on the production of this rose and other floricultural products as well, which we wish the government to implement this floriculture promotion policy, which was introduced in 2069 BS during our old government system. Now, after the federalism has been implemented, it has not been revised and implemented, which has been in our recommendation and which has not been implemented so far. So we request the government to implement it as soon as possible. Apart from that, the issue that we think the government should consider is the financial part. The flower growers needs the support for financial, easily accessible support on the financing and the proper infrastructure that we need for off-season production like this. And also we need a support for the land, which the growers do not have easy access to the land area where the production is accessible to the market, easily accessible to the market. And there are other technical issues like pest and disease problems, right? And others like, for example, improved quality planting materials. Also, there is a need of those important issues that we need from the grower side. And obviously, the illegal import is there, so we need to check on that. To check on that, the government has to consult all the stakeholders, because that also affects all the players in the value chain. So that also, to implement the non-tariff barriers to check the illegal imports, the government has to consult all the stakeholders. So that is these are the important facts that the government should consider from our side, we think from our side.
Thank you so much, Shrestha. That was our cover story. Now we move to other updates. Nepal's Rashtriya Prajatantra Party, RPP, has unveiled its election manifesto, placing the monarchy reform of the electoral system and a two-tier governance structure at the center of its political agenda. Releasing its manifesto for the House of Representatives election scheduled for March 5, the RPP has reiterated its commitment to reinstating Nepal as a Hindu state, restoring the monarchy as a guardian institution, and scrapping the provincial structure. The party has proposed abolishing the provinces and adopting a two-tier governance model consisting of a strong central government and empowered local levels. The RPP has identified hydropower and water resources, tourism, agriculture, information technology, good governance, the skills and capital of Nepalese living abroad, and the private sector as pillars of economic prosperity. Nepali Congress President Gagan Kumar Thapa has said that the party will address the demands of the Madhesh movement. Speaking at a program organized in Sarlahi constituency number 4, the constituency he is contesting March 5 elections from, Thapa, he emphasized that the Congress is ready to support Madhesh and its people.
देशको व्यवस्था सुधार गर्नुपर्छ भ्रष्टाचारबाट नागरिक आजीत भएका छन् सबलाई सुशासन चाहिएको छ, सबलाई ठिकी चाहिएको छ। यो प्रतिनिधि पात्र मात्रै हो, यो मधेसभरि आउँछ यो लहर। आज सरलाई 4 बाट सुरु भयो, 32 निर्वाचन क्षेत्रमा यो लहर पुग्छ, मलाई विश्वास छ। किनकि नेपाली कांग्रेस पार्टीले सबै साथीहरूलाई यो कार्यक्रमबाट एउटा संकल्प गरेर आह्वान गरिरहेको छ, कोही पनि साथीले लोकतान्त्रिक विचार राख्नु भएको छ र मधेसको मुद्दा सम्बोधन हुनुपर्छ बाँकी छ भन्ने ठान्नु भएको छ भने नेपाली कांग्रेस त्यसको जिम्मा लिन तयार छ, त्यसको बिडो उठाउन तयार छ।
Meanwhile, Nepali Congress says it will unveil its election manifesto at 2 p.m. on Sunday at the party's central office in Lalitpur, Nepal. Coordinator of the Nepali Communist Party, Puspa Kamal Dahal, has said that in the upcoming House of Representatives election, people will use their ballots to defeat those seeking to burn the country, engage in corruption and misgovernance, and suppress citizens.
मांग बैठकका निर्णयकै कारणले देशमा शान्ति सम्झौताको वातावरण पनि बन्यो, 12 बुँदे समझदारीको पनि वातावरण बन्यो र देश संघीय लोकतान्त्रिक गणतन्त्रमा आउने अवस्था सृजना भयो। हाम्रो दृष्टिमा मेरो र यहाँ पम्फाजी हुनुहुन्छ, हामी जो त्यति बेला थियौं, हामीहरूको दृष्टिमा चाहिँ कुरा के यो हलको निर्णय नै संघीय लोकतान्त्रिक गणतन्त्रको स्थापनामा निर्णायक भूमिका खेल्ने निर्णय भएको थियो।
CPN-UML has said that it is committed to build sovereign, progressive and socialism-oriented economy with a focus on creating a just society with equal opportunities. Speaking to journalists today at an election discussion held at the party's central office, UML election coordinator Min Bahadur Shahi also emphasized that the party is committed to ensuring quality education, accessible healthcare and dignified employment opportunities for every citizen.
विचार नीति सिद्धान्तका आधारमा राजनीतिक दलहरू चल्नुपर्छ, आइडियोलोजीले गाइडेड हुनुपर्छ। त्यसकारणले हामीले के भनेका हौं भन्दाखेरि नेपालको अबको राजनीति के विगत के आज के भोलि त्यो चाहिँ लोकप्रियतावादमा हैन, ब्रोडर डेमोक्रेटिक फ्रेमवर्कमा रहेर त्यसले परिवर्तन र रूपान्तरणको आकांक्षालाई संस्थागत गरेर अगाडि बढ्नुपर्छ भन्ने हाम्रो मान्यता हो।
More than half of the polling stations in Madhya province have been classified as highly sensitive ahead of the upcoming House of Representative election. 44% of the polling stations are located along the border with neighboring India, which authorities consider a significant factor in their security assessment. Security arrangements have been intensified in these areas to ensure a free, fair and peaceful election process. April Aghisinglama brings more.
Among the 8 districts of Madhya province, Saptari has the highest number of polling stations classified as highly sensitive. Out of 296 polling stations in Saptari, 209 have been placed on the highly sensitive list. According to Madhya Province Police, 154 polling stations in Siraha, 194 in Dhanusa, 163 in Mohottari, 158 in Sarlahi, 152 in Rautahad and 145 in Bara have also been categorized as highly sensitive. Authorities say enhanced security measures will be implemented in these areas to ensure a safe and orderly election process.
2160 मतदान स्थलमा 4471 वटा चाहिँ मतदान केन्द्रहरू छ, पोलिङ सेन्टरहरू छ। यसलाई सुरक्षाको दृष्टिकोणले जिल्लाले जिल्ला सुरक्षा समितिबाट सिफारिस गरे अनुसार यसलाई संवेदनशील र अति संवेदनशील गरेर डिभाइड गर्ने सन्दर्भमा क्रममा 1246 वटा मतदान केन्द्रलाई चाहिँ अति संवेदनशीलको उसमा क्याटेगोरीमा राखिएको रहेछ। यसको मतलब यो विभिन्न खालको त्यहाँ हुन सक्ने खालको आकस्मिक घटनाहरू, सुरक्षाको हिसाबले गर्दा चुनौतीहरू, सीमानाकासँगको दूरी आदि इत्यादि र हिजो योभन्दा अगाडिका घटनाहरूको कुराले गर्दाखेरि यो विश्लेषण गरेर चाहिँ राखिएको अवस्था हो।
Security agencies have categorized polling stations into 3 levels: normal, sensitive, and highly sensitive. After assessing security challenges arising from the open border between Nepal and India as well as concerns following the recent Gen Z movement. Meanwhile, authorities are preparing to deploy more than 50,000 security personnel to ensure that the elections are conducted in a peaceful and fear-free environment. Madhya Province, which shares a 367-kilometer open border with India, has a total of 4,471 polling centers and 2,156 polling stations across its 8 districts.
भारतसँग पनि सीमा जोडिएका केही चाहिँ पालिकाहरू छन्, त्यसकारणले यो धेरै हिसाबले हेर्दा यो सुरक्षाको दृष्टिकोणले हेर्दा संवेदनशील नै देखिन्छ यो जिल्ला र यसमा सबै सुरक्षा निकायका प्रमुखहरू यसमा चाहिँ सदस्य रहने व्यवस्था हुन्छ। सामान्यतया उहाँले व्यापक तयारी गरेको अवस्था मैले बुझेको छु र उहाँले गर्ने कुराहरू सबै मतदान केन्द्रहरूको चाहिँ निरीक्षण गर्ने कुराहरू होइन, स्थलहरूको निरीक्षण गर्ने कामहरू, त्यस कारणले उहाँहरू सबै मतदान केन्द्रहरूको निरीक्षण गरिरहनु भएको छ। त्यसका सुरक्षाको हिसाबले गर्नुपर्ने तयारी गरिरहनु भएको मैले बुझेको।
In Dhanusa district, which also serves as the capital of Madhya Province, 194 polling stations have been classified as highly sensitive. Across the province's 8 districts, there are 32 constituencies for the House of Representatives with more than 3.517 million registered voters. Security agencies determine the sensitivity level of polling stations after analyzing incidents from previous elections, including disruptions to voting, clashes between groups, and cases of ballot box theft. Authorities say the classification aims to strengthen security planning and ensure a safe and orderly electoral process.
In context of the upcoming March 5 elections, we asked people from Madhya Province if they feel safe enough to vote without fear this time. Let's hear what they have to say.
फागुन 21 गते जुन मतदान भइरहेको छ त्यसमा चाहिँ तपाईको खास गरेर तीनटै तहको चाहिँ सुरक्षा जुन कर्मीहरू छ परिचालन गरी कड़ा सुरक्षाका साथ मतदान हुनुपर्छ। खास गरेर टोलदेखि बुथसम्म सुरक्षा हुनुपर्छ र यसचोटि भइरहित निर्वाचन गराउनुपर्छ भन्ने हाम्रो आग्रह छ।
जेना बॉर्डर एरिया में जे चुनाव जे है से संवेदनशील तो छेबे करे, लेकिन एमे तीनों तह के माने सुरक्षा निकाय बहुत बढ़िया से काम करे, उहे हम सब चाहे छी। जेना इंडिया नेपाल के बॉर्डर के माने दोनों सशस्त्र सीमा बल सबके बैठ के एक बढ़िया से ओकर केना सुरक्षा हेतै से कइल जाए त बढ़िया रहतै। से
विगत वर्षमा भएका विभिन्न निर्वाचनमा बुथ कब्जा, दंगा, मारपिट हुँदै आएको छ। त्यसैले गर्दा मतदाताका लागि, हाम्रा लागि शान्तिपूर्ण वातावरण, निर्भीकतापूर्वक रूपमा मतदान गर्न पाउने जुन मतदाताको अधिकार छ त्यस अनुरूप निर्वाचनमा हामीले निर्भीकतापूर्वक भइरहित वातावरणमा मतदान गर्न पाउनुपर्छ।
तीनटै तहको तपाईको सुरक्षा प्रति परिचालन गर्नुपर्छ र यो तपाईको जसले तपाईको मतदाताहरुमा कुनै प्रभाव, कुनै डर धम्की नहोस्, को अनुभूति नहोस् भने
केही त्यस्तो नहोस्। तीनटै पक्षबाट चुनावमा कुनै पनि जनतामा भए नहोस् कि यसमा नै भोट दिनु छ, यसमा नै कुनै भोट या तरास टाइपको केही पनि अवस्था नहुनु चाहिए।
In far western Nepal, a new skill and employment fair is giving young people practical training, creating opportunity. From electric vehicle repair to cultural handicrafts, youth in Sudur Paschim province are learning in-demand skills that could transform not only their future but also help local economy. Hundreds of youth hands-on training at the province-wide fair is expected to open doors to self-reliance. Our Rojina Rai with our local correspondent Dinesh Vista brings more.
In far western Nepal, inside the training halls, hundreds of youths are in the mission of becoming empowered through a skill and employment fair. Designed to help youths secure jobs in the area they are interested, participants are actively learning skills that blend tradition with modern touch. From 88 local levels across the 9 districts of Sudur Paschim province, around 600 young people are currently participating in the program. The fair, organized in the province, offering training across 22 subcategories under 6 major sectors. For many participants, this free training has become a turning point. They share that learning practical skills has boosted their confidence and given them hope for a stable future.
हामीले अब घरमा बसेर खाली टाइम वेस्ट हुनुभन्दा चाहिँ धनगढी उपनगरपालिकाले चाहिँ एउटा भनौँ न विद्यार्थीको लागि खाली टाइम सदुपयोग गर्नका लागि चाहिँ एउटा सिप दिएको हुनाले चाहिँ मलाई धेरै धन्यवाद भन्न चाहन्छु.
Many also believe that the certificates they receive upon completing the training will help them secure employment within Nepal. In the art and craft designing section, trainees carefully stitch fabric in fashion designing and advanced tailoring classes. Others work on cultural costume production and bamboo handicrafts, preserving Nepal's heritage while preparing for modern markets. Elsewhere, the sound of tools fills the air as trainees practice preparing electric cars and motorcycles. In the construction training area, aspiring workers learn machinery, furniture making, building construction, and plumbing skills. In hospitality sessions, young men and women confidently prepare coffee as baristas do, cook fast food, and master professionals' service techniques. According to Dhangarhi Sub-Metropolitan City Mayor Gopal Hamal, the fair was launched to address the growing challenge of youth unemployment and the shortage of skilled manpower in the region. As the training programs progress, efforts are underway to connect graduates directly with employers, aiming to reduce unemployment and create lasting impact. Rosina Rai with the local correspondent Dinesh Bista from Kailali reporting for NTV World.
Commercial farming of the Himalayan massif, traditionally raised in Himalayan regions, have begun in Nepal's high hilly district of Ilam. A dedicated dog breeding farm has been set up in Kalpokhari of Sandakpur rural municipality of Ilam, where more than a dozen Himalayan massive dogs are being raised. The large, bear-like mountain dogs are valued for their strong build and loud bark, with top specimens receiving offers of up to 800,000 rupees, approximately $5,500. Local farmers have been breeding the dogs for commercial sale, mainly for producing high-value puppies. Demand has been rising across eastern high-hill areas as the breed gains popularity for guarding and breeding purposes. The Himalayan Mastiff is considered rare and native to high Himalayan regions. The breed has received formal international recognition from the International Kennel Club. Time to have more updates from international front, but before that, let's have a recap of the headlines. Nepal's upcoming elections spark economic surge, election spending to boost market activity beyond 120 billion rupees. Pashupatinath Temple in Kathmandu gears up for Mahashivratri festival. Saints and devotees from Nepal and abroad arrive at the temple. Valentine's Day begins celebrated expressing love and joy. Day also sees surge in sales of flowers like roses. While leaders gather in Munich for second day of security conference, UK PM Starmer says Europe must stand on own 2 feet. Bangladesh PM in waiting, Rahman appeals for unity as BNP sweeps poll. Interim leader Yunus prepared to hand over power to elected government. And Nepal gears up for its 30-20 World Cup 2026 match to be held tomorrow to face West Indies. We have more international updates on the other side, but time for a short break now. Okay, we are moving on to US President Donald Trump, who has significantly ramped up pressure on Tehran, stating that a change of government in Iran would be the best thing that could happen. This overt call for regime change comes as the world's largest warship, the USS General R4, is redeployed from the Caribbean to join a massive US armada in the Middle East.
give us the deal that they should have given us the first time. If they give us the right deal, we won't do that. But, you know, historically, they haven't done that. I will say they want to talk, but so far they do a lot of talking and no action.
The eastern province of Castellón in Spain has been placed under a maximum red alert as Storm Oriana sweeps across the region, bringing the threat of hurricane force winds to expected to exceed 140 km per hour. Authorities have warned that the storm could cause widespread disruption, including downed trees, power outages and damage to infrastructure, as well as dangerous conditions on roads and coastal areas. Emergency services have issued multiple ES alert warnings to mobile phones in the province, urging residents to avoid all non-essential travel and to stay indoors during the height of the storm. This alert comes in the wake of a series of severe storms that have battered various parts of Europe in recent weeks, causing floods, landslide and widespread property damage. Figure skaters from more than 20 countries are performing at the Zenith venue in Paris in the latest production of Holiday on Ice titled Horizons. Among the performance is Canadian skater Daniel Villeneuve, who has retired from competitive skating to focus on professional shows. The show combines technical skating skills with theatrical performance and is part of Holiday on Ice's ongoing European tour. Organizers say Horizons aims to attract both longtime fans and new audiences to live ice skating events. The production highlights the growing international appeal of professional ice shows and showcases skaters from diverse cultural and training backgrounds. The streets of Rio de Janeiro's historic Santa Teresa neighborhood erupted with music, color and dance as revelers took part in the traditional parade of the Carmelites Street Carnival group. The group's vibrant procession weaved through narrow cobblestone streets, celebrating both the city's rich cultural heritage and the festive spirit of Carnival. Santa Teresa, known for its colonial architecture and artistic community, is also home to a Carmelite convent, which adds a unique historical dimension to the parade. The Carmelitas parade is famous for its elaborate costumes, rhythmic drumming, and choreographed dances, drawing crowds of local and tourists eager to experience an authentic slice of Rio's carnival tradition. Organizers emphasize that the event is as much a celebration of community identity and history as it is of music and festivity. Time for a short break here. We shall have business news when we come back.
ByteDance, the force behind TikTok, is making a massive pivot toward an AI-first future. While the company has navigated intense legal and privacy battles over its social media application, it's been quietly building an AI empire. Its flagship chat box, Duobao, now boasts over 100 million daily users, processing 50 trillion units of text every day, rivaling the scale of giants like Google and OpenAI. This strategic shift follows years of regulatory pressure, including the recent restructuring of TikTok's US operations. Now, ByteDance is betting billions on AI infrastructure and high-end talent to lead the next generation of productivity. With new tools like Cdance 2.0 video generator and the international rollout of its AI assistant Dola, ByteDance is determined to replicate its social media success in the fiercely competitive global AI arena. Cuba's fuel crisis has reached a breaking point following the collapse of Venezuelan oil imports and now U.S. trade threats. In Havana, the iconic 1950s classic cars are being replaced by electric tricycles as black market gasoline hits $5 a liter. With public transit paralyzed, these electric kings of the road are a lifeline for commuters, even as drivers struggle to charge them during frequent power blackouts. As transport costs triple, many Cubans are turning to bicycles or even quitting jobs, facing an atomic demand for mobility that the island's fragile grid can barely support. For many in Vietnam, Tet, the Lunar New Year, is the most sacred time for family. But for low-income workers and hospital patients in Ho Chi Minh City, the cost of going home out of reach. This year, thousands are reuniting with loved ones thanks to zero-cost bus journeys. From dialysis patients finding new strength to a couple returning home for the first time in 15 years, these community-funded trips are a lifeline. With free fares and holiday gifts, this initiative ensures that no one is left behind, proving that the true spirit of TED is found in reunion and compassion. China's Lunar New Year travel rush is back in full force, with authorities expecting a staggering 9.5 billion journeys over the 40-day holiday period. For many, the struggle begins at the ticket counter. While high-speed rail and planes dominate the headlines, many travelers still rely on affordable green trains to navigate the crush. But the holiday isn't all relaxation. With tight schedules and looming exams, many young professionals and students admit that work stress and study goals are traveling home right alongside them.
Now sports updates. Kenyan runner Julius Maruiki Wahom has won the Pokhara International Marathon competition. The 42-kilometer marathon organized today in western city of Pokhara by the Nepal Former Athletes Forum saw Maruiki complete the course in 2 hours 23 minutes and 39 seconds to claim the title. Gajendra Rai finished second, completing the distance in 2 hours 24 minutes and 47 seconds, while Hari Kumar Rimal from Dhading secured third place with a time of 2 hours 27 minutes and 18 seconds. The marathon featured competitions across 21 different events, attracting a wide range of participants from various regions. A dramatic incident unfolded on Saturday during the Sail GP race in Auckland when the boats representing France and New Zealand collided, resulting in the hospitalization of 2 sailors. French crew member Manon Audient and New Zealand's Louis Sinclair were both injured in the high-speed crash. The collision occurred as both teams navigated the challenging high-speed course on Sail GP Waitemata Harbour with strong winds and tight competition pushing the F-50 foiling catamarans to their limits. Organizers have confirmed that a full investigation will be conducted in accordance with international racing regulations to determine the cause of the collision. Representatives from both teams expressed their concerns for the injured sailors and thanked the emergency responders for rapid intervention. Despite the incident, competition is expected to continue once safety checks and repairs are completed. Now the weather updates, first from Nepal and then the world. And with this, we have come to the end of this news bulletin. Before we wrap up, let's have a recap of the headlines. Nepal's upcoming elections spark economic surge, election spending to boost market activity beyond 120 billion rupees. Pashupatinath Temple in Kathmandu gears up for Mahashivratri festival. Saints and devotees from Nepal and abroad arrive at the temple. Valentine's Day being celebrated, expressing love and joy. Day also sees surge in sales of flowers like roses. World leaders gather in Munich for a second day of security conference. UK PM Starmer says Europe must stand on own 2 feet. Bangladesh PM in waiting. Rahman appeals for unity as BNP sweeps poll. Interim leader Yunus prepares to hand over power to elected government. And Nepal gears up for its third T20 World Cup 2026 match to be held tomorrow to face West Indies. That's all here for the moment at NTV World. I'm Sviksha Rajakan. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.